Hello, my little ninjas. Hi, Jackie Cat. Hello, my little ninjas. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page, Mox News, and welcome to your 420th episode of Mox Talks. Thanks so much for tuning in. I have a few videos for you tonight about freedom and such, and the effects of what it cost us as humans. Not the real effects, like these little tiny amounts of effects. I've talked about this again and again. In my opinion, in my very limited opinion, it seems to me that we're not anywhere close to free. Oh, and I did want to point out that the lovely and beautiful, talented co-host of our show, of the Mox Talks live program, Boo Bear. He's my beautiful baby, and he has so generously decided to join us this evening. I only had to use part of a peanut butter cookie to coax him in. I'm getting there, Jackie Cat. Puff, puff, puff. I know. I will do one in a minute. I can't wait. Very much looking forward to sharing that with you. Until then, my Boo Bear, freedom, Ukraine. Where are we at today? Let's see, Ukraine, Boo Bear, freedom, tiger. I don't see a fucking tiger. What are you talking about? Fucking tiger. Ah, fucking tiger! So I come out here on a daily basis to try and share, this time. I come out here to share this time with you, to have a bong hit with you, to discuss things that are, very topical in the moment, or things that are of importance to all of us. I do my best to talk about things that are of importance to all of us. And I try and welcome you to be part of that discussion. That's what this live show is all about. That's why there's a telephone number up there on the screen for you to be able to participate in this process. For you to have your voice being part of the discussion. That's what this is about. And if you don't want to, that's fine. That's fine. Fine. If you want to, the telephone number's up there on the screen. 805-669-6397. 805 Mox News. Now, as I was saying earlier, the week before, I was saying that for the people who show up early, we're going to do a bong hit early from now on. That way you don't have to wait an hour into the show to take a bong hit with Mox. That way we can all ease into the show together. And that way the people who show up on time are rewarded by being able to take our first bong hit of the evening together. And I haven't had a bong hit. I had a bong hit this morning before we went on a walk. I do that about 25% of the time because usually I eat a nice big brownie before we go on a walk. We go on a walk. By the time I get back from the walk, I'm good. Sometimes I'm not good before we go on the walk, so I have a bong hit, then go on the walk. And by the time we get home, the brownie's kicking in. I'm good. So this morning, I did have a bong hit. So this is not my first bong hit of the day. I know, let's just talk for the next 10 minutes about how many bong hits I've done so far today. But we can talk, I've only done one, but we can talk about it for the next 10 minutes. If you like. Or we could just have a bong hit. Doesn't that sound nice? I think that sounds very nice. I think that's what we should do, is have a bong hit. I have a couple videos about the lockdown results of COVID and how it's had the effect that it's had on children, and how it really didn't help the situation. which I'm so glad to start seeing these discussions being had, because as I've said, as soon as this 2022 election is done, the COVID's going to come back in a big way. And these studies about how the lockdown affected the COVID, the death rate, all these things, and psychologically what it did, and economically what it did. All they did was hurt us. And why? Why? Because they took our freedoms away. This is what happens when they take our freedoms away. When they take our freedoms away, there are irreparable, irreconcilable, unrepairable consequences. The economy, 50% of small businesses, might not be 50%, but close to 50% of small business had to shutter their doors during the COVID crisis, never to open them again. And somehow, the lockdown was the right thing to do. It was not. It fucked us all. And again, I believe that's their plan. They want to screw. They want to hold us in chains, not free, not going in any direction to make anything happen that we can imagine, like the big brain, upright walking, opposable thumb, tippy top of the food chain motherfuckers that we are. Okay? They don't want you to know that. They don't want you to act like it. They don't want you to have the ability to understand that we're tippy top of the food chain, that we shouldn't be afraid of anything. Why? Sharks are tippy top of the food chain, right? They don't walk around in constant fear. Well, they don't walk around at all, I guess. But they don't swim around in constant fear. Go, oh! What's over there? Oh, what's over there? They don't do that. They go, hey, what's over there? That looks like lunch. Let's go have lunch. That's what top of the food chain is. It's what tigers do. They don't crouch in fear everywhere they go. They walk with their head held up, going, all right, motherfuckers, let's do this thing. Looking around, ready to take care of business. Okay? They want you not understanding you are the top of the food chain. They do everything in their power to limit you. Not only from knowing this, but from acting like it. Not only from acting like it, but from feeling it on the inside.
Hey, what's up, Mox?
I am doing this thing that I do. What is up with you?
Not much. I'm practicing various instruments.
Oh, cool.
Well, I mean, not like actively while I'm talking to you. That would be rude.
Depends on what instrument, I suppose.
Well, I have several flutes next to me and some guitars and ukuleles and banjos and whatever.
Lucky?
No, not lucky. I just don't give things up very difficult. I mean, you're just not going to take it from me.
Yeah. Well, good. A man has got to have priorities, damn it.
Well, if you recall, prior to the invention of the silver flute, like the girl flute, like you see in band, that was a man's instrument that you were going to play, and you were going to be the first motherfucker into battle. Can I say that word?
You can say whatever you want. I don't give a fuck.
Okay, fuck it. Right? Like, I consider... Anyway.
Well,
what is wrong with people?
When I lived in Maui, I used to hear this flute all the time, right? And I was like, where is that coming from? And one day I decided to follow the sound of the flute. And it led me to a parking lot where the parking lot attendant was sitting there playing a flute day after day after day. And I was like, wow, it sounds amazing, and it just carries on the wind. And I think that's partially why they put the flute players up front, was to they could be afraid because they couldn't tell how far away they were, but they knew that they were in the general area.
Yeah, flute is loud over a long distance.
So
and the other reason they put them up front is it was communications and psychological warfare.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
that you could literally, it was psychological warfare, like, oh, we're sending in our flute players first. What do you think about that?
Yeah.
Right? And then on top of that, the flute players and the band, they were literally telling people, like, okay, your regiment needs to flank over this way, or, you know what I mean, for his battle commands.
Yeah. No, I get it. That seems like I didn't think about communication that way. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, they were absolutely. You would see if you go look at an old like like Napoleonic era or Revolutionary War like era battle, like painting or scene or reading account.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally the people who were in front of the entire battle line were the musicians and the general, because the general was telling the musicians what to communicate.
Which is where the generals belong, and I wish that the generals of today were there. That seems like, and there until the war is over, not some inspection of what's happening. They need to be in the front of the battle fighting it.
No. I just heard a story about a Russian admiral who literally sent his submarine fleet out knowing they were not prepared and had just been on a long deployment, and that the ship was literally taking them, like, you go and you take the ship. And they're like, okay, well, we're all going to drown. It's like, I don't care. I failed an inspection.
Yeah.
What are we going to do, man?
I don't give a fuck about the Russians. I could care less. So
they make really cute dolls.
Well, they make really cute prostitutes, too. But I don't care about...
I don't know anything about that, sir. I don't pay for it.
Yeah, well, it's easy to know about that. And by the way, I've never paid for it in my life, so you know.
I'd just like to mention, I could literally open my door and say, hip hop hooray, ho, and wave a $50 bill and I'd be good, but I don't do that.
Good. Well, man, like I said, a man's got to have priorities. I just, you were talking about dolls or whatever. Actually, I'm growing a plant this summer called Russian doll. A strain. I'm growing a strain.
What kind of plant is it?
It's cannabis. What kind of fucking think you? What kind of fucking plant you think it is?
Oh, okay. I got you now. I'm sorry, dude. I got a little bit of green thumb, so I was like, what kind of plant is this?
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh, okay, I know what kind of plant that is. Okay, I got it.
Russian doll.
Do you know what a Russian doll is? A marushka.
I think that's a specific type of doll.
The nesting dolls.
Yeah.
It's also a military tactic that the Russians use, which is like basically like a false flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they call it the same thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you got past the first thing, but hey, you didn't know there was something else underneath there, right?
Yeah, that's what look, I think that the tacticians. Look, I'm not here to talk about war right now, although it is part of the discussion. I want to talk about the limits of humankind, which this is one of the ways they limit us. Don't get me wrong. One of the ways they limit us is by creating war again and again, as if that should be a priority for our species, which it should not. And this is one of the ways that they hold us down, so that we all understand each other.
Moxie, you don't have to get too specific on personals, but I'm 42 years old. How old are you?
60. I turned 60 March 19th.
Okay. So you actually have a better, more clear perspective on the events that I witnessed growing up.
If you say so.
You don't think I remember that yellow cake was a lie?
I do. I remember it very clearly. Not just that it was a lie, but that they used the lie to take us into war and murder 1 million innocent Iraqis with your tax dollars based on lies. And that's a lot more than just...
You know what really made me angry about that? Is, they were all like, back in then, I'm not going to use the phrase Islamophobia because I'm not afraid of Islam. But like there was a whole lot of anti-Islam, anti-right.
Yeah.
Not anti-right, but you know what I mean, like anti-Islam.
Yeah. There was a whole lot of that.
Shitload of Christians.
Who now?
Well, shut your mouth. You're not going to lump all these people into the same category.
You know what? This division of tribes is something that people instinctively fall into, and it's a trap that's been programmed into us that again limits our freedom. That again makes it so that we look at each other as if as if we are the enemies. We are not the enemies. We're the ones that are, gonna work together to figure out what's happening here, because what we have going on right now is
isn't working.
It's not. It's worse than not working. Again, this is people holding us down so that we cannot progress, so that we cannot move forward. It's just.
In other words, what you're saying is first through fifth is blown out. We only have reverse, and the clutch is a bit dodgy.
What I'm saying is, we shouldn't look at each other as if we're the enemy. Okay, if we can come together, we have all the power. We have all the power. The governments belong to us. The military belongs to us. We write their goddamn paychecks. We should be in charge of what's happening there. Okay, and I'm tired of them holding us down. I'm tired of them trying to keep the human race from evolving. Okay, this is the freedom that we have right now, holding us in place as firmly as possible so that we can't move forward, so that we spend all our money and energy on wars and separation instead of coming together and caring about each other in a proper way, the way that we're supposed to. Okay? We're not supposed to look at each other like we're enemies. We're supposed to look at each other like, what can we make happen today? Because we could make almost anything happen if we could come together. What's that?
Well, I mean, and you kind of touched on something there. There's like this hierarchy, but not a natural hierarchy. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
But of like just complete division. It's like once I figure out who I am, and I'm a evil straight white male, or I'm a person of color, woman, lesbian, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? They're going to just divide you down smaller and smaller pieces.
Which is why I keep saying you shouldn't attach these labels. I'm this, I'm that. No, you're this individual, free-thinking person who can make anything happen in the world. And when you put these labels on you, you paint yourself into a corner, and then you're only able to make happen, stuff that you don't step on the paint. Okay? Stop putting these fucking labels on you. It's a giant mistake, and as you were just saying, part of the way they keep us divided.
Yeah. Well, because once you, you're going to get into this, comfort zone. You're going to find your niche, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm just making stuff up. I'm not saying this is about me or anybody specifically, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, oh, you're a half Asian, half white, gay transvestite who blah blah blah, who does ceramics and also likes working on cars, right?
Uh-huh. And let's not forget you got a Black Lives Matter sign out in your front yard.
Well, I mean, you have to be with the current thing.
Well, if you're going to be woke, you do.
I'm not woke, I'm awake.
Good, that's what you should be.
Woke and awake are not the same thing.
They are not the same thing.
I am literally surrounded by woke people.
Huh. Wow, that must be difficult for you.
Oh, yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, that too, I would imagine. Hey, listen, I need to take a bong hit. Everybody's waiting on me, so...
All right, talk to somebody else, you jerk.
I'm not talking to somebody else. I'm taking a damn bong hit, you jerk.
Oh, take a damn hit. I'll take a hit.
Yeah, good. All right, you do that, and we'll talk later. Thanks for calling. Okay. Okay, I'm going to play a video, go heat up my tea, and we will come back and have a bong hit. This video is about, well, we just mentioned the BLM. So let's look at a BLM investigation that is currently going on by the Justice Department, which I think you might find interesting. And I will be right back after I heat up my tea, and we'll have a big fat bong hit, okay? Thanks so much for tuning in. Be right back.
There's a new round of questions and criticisms for Black Lives Matter, also known as BLM, after a new report detailed a 7-bedroom house purchase in California by 3 of the group's leaders back in 2020. Now there are growing calls for authorities to follow that money. Christine Frizzau has the details.
Black Lives Matter. It was a movement that gripped the nation, dating back to 2013, but for which support surged after the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. No peace. People signed up and signed checks. The Black Lives Matter 2020 impact report showing the group raised more than $90 million in that year alone. Last week, New York Magazine reported that same year, those with the Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation spent $6 million in cash on a 6,500 square foot house in California, meant to serve as a safe house, an influencer house, but out of which relatively little content has been produced over the course of 17 months. It's now raising questions about the future, its message, and its mission.
The Global Network Foundation, are they taking risks in live protests and actions, or are they just reaping the benefits of the public outrage?
Beth Gaisley is a professor at Indiana University, focusing on nonprofit management and policy. She says donors will likely think twice about giving to Black Lives Matter and encourages people to always check GuideStar.org or the IRS website before contributing to a cause.
Whenever you make arm's length giving, you make it to a national organization where you may not have an opportunity to keep an eye on what they're doing. I think that it does increase the risks for donors.
The organization was actually awarded tax-exempt status from the IRS in 2020. That means it's required to disclose at least general information about expenditures every year on a form known as a 990. Well, so far, those forms have not been submitted for 2020 or 2021. Former leader Patrisse Cullors in an Instagram post said the truth would soon be made clear upon the release of the BLM 990s, calling the New York Magazine article, quote, filled with misinformation, innuendo, and incendiary opinions. In Washington, I'm Christine Frizzau.
And that reminds me of a funny joke. We'll have to get to that later. I have bong hits to do for the beautiful people who showed up early on time. And we're going to do bong hits here in just a moment, people. Because it's that time. So I am working on bong hits. We'll get to that momentarily. Have a nice warm cup of tea. Oh my God, I love tea. Joke, I have a joke. You want to hear a joke? Huh? You want to hear a joke? Do ya? Do you want to hear a joke? You know, I only know one joke. I only know. I hear jokes all the time, and I only can remember one. Forever. For like the last 40 years, I can only remember this one joke. And if you want, I will tell you it. Would you like to hear a joke? Huh? Huh? Oh, you want to see the boat scene? Okay, let's see the boat. Where's the boat? Well, let's do a bong hit first, and then we'll go back to the boat. Not that one. Not that one. Let's do it over here. All right. bong hit first, then we'll go back to the sharks. That was the Coast Guard scaring off sharks. Pretty good video. You ready? That was really good. I really like that one. You want to hear a joke? You want to hear a joke? Huh? All right. Nobody wants to hear my joke. Fine. Where were we? Oh, right. We were talking about the lovely and our beautiful co-host, Boo Bear. We went for a very nice walk today. We went and did the trails. He's wanted to do the trails the last 3 days, which is good. We get a lot of off-leash time on the trails. And that's probably a big part of why he wants to go do that. Would be my guess. All right, so I have gardening to do, people. I got some nutrients off of the Amazon today, and they were the wrong thing. I did not get what I ordered, and I'm slightly frustrated by that. But the Amazon always makes that kind of stuff good, so. All right, so, oh no, that was the BLM one. I think the BLM, I'm glad to see the organizers, the founders of BLM, the leaders, I don't want to say the organizers, the founders, the leaders of BLM being investigated, because it seems like they're taking advantage of the situation. And I would think everybody who's done anything to support BLM would be very frustrated by that and want to know exactly what it is that's going on. Now, let's see. So I think that was a very good investigation, a very good news story, and it has a lot to do with freedom of speech. I want to point out, as pointed out in that video, is that the founding of the BLM movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, happened in 2013, at which time Barack Obama was president. And I find it fascinating that under our first and only black president, an organization called Black Lives Matter was founded. And it was founded because apparently the first black president did not understand that Black Lives Matter, which I find quite fascinating. You know, you don't form an organization when someone is concerned about what's going on with your people. You don't form an organization that says, this is unfair to our people, why are you doing this? And that shouldn't have happened under Obama. Obama was supposed to be different. Obama was supposed to be hope and change. And all he did was move the for-profit police state further. All he did was make things worse for when it comes to freedom. So much worse that I keep wondering if Obama was the worst president in U.S. history. That's how bad he was. And that's having a president named Joe Biden who's walking around, you know, or creepy Uncle Joe, or poopy pants president. You know, that's who we have now. And still, I wonder if Obama was the worst president of all time. Because if you look at what happened, if you look at Occupy, if you look at the fact that Black Lives Matter had to be founded again under the first black president, because apparently the first black president didn't understand that Black Lives Matter and was doing absolutely nothing in order to act as such. I also have a story about ghost guns, or crackdown on ghost guns, which is so stupid. You know, they want to act like somehow they're going to be able to to track ghost guns. The point of ghost guns is that they can't be tracked. And it's again fascinating that this is a way that they are limiting your freedom over this thing that basically is I don't want to say it doesn't exist, but it's this thing of imagination. Oh, there's all these ghost guns all over the country. It's not fucking ghost guns all over the country. Stupid. Okay, what there is all over the country is guns, and more guns, not ghost guns. So anybody who's acting as if, oh look, we're taking, and I don't know how to take care of the gun problem, and I'm not about limiting the Second Amendment in any way. But when they act like, oh look, we're acting on the situation. We're concerned about gun violence. Look at what we're doing. We're getting the ghost guns off the street. That is complete and utter distraction. Okay? There's like what? 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 ghost guns. Ooh, 5,000 ghost guns in the United States right now. Oh my God. Compared to what? How many guns are there? There's like, and I want there to be guns. I want people to be able to, as long as we need to have guns, I want there to be guns. If there comes a time when we don't really need guns anymore, when the bullshit governments of the world have gotten rid of their standing armies, which cost us half of our gross national product every year, half of the money spent in this country by the government goes directly to the military-industrial complex. We are not meant to have a standing army in this country. Hey, Brandon, military-industrial complex. We are not meant to have that in this country. And I find it a standing army, that is, because it's looking for trouble. If we need to put together an army, we can do that fairly quickly. And an army isn't going to defeat, jets. It's not going to defeat nuclear weapons. So a standing army is just something that's ready to go and to go and invade another country. That's what a standing army is all about. We need to get rid of that. Okay? And once all the countries of the world get rid of their standing armies, we may be able to discuss, the ownership of guns and if it's really necessary. But at this point, and again, if they send the National Guard, which I don't want anybody hurting the National Guard. What I'm saying is that if they do a lockdown, right, a martial law type lockdown, more than ever am I so glad that there's so many guns in this country. Not because we want to go to war with law enforcement, but if we have to, and we have guns, we can fight back. Because the government and law enforcement is clearly not on our sides. I should say the for-profit comply or die police state is definitely not on our side. And when I say for-profit, what I mean is that millions and millions and millions of dollars, just in your local police departments, probably hundreds of billions of dollars around the country is spent every year updating your local police department. Which if that money was probably spent in the community, they could do a lot more about crime than just, throwing everybody in prison. Than shooting up a neighborhood because there's some fucking idiot who robbed a cannabis store. We deserve better policing than this. We deserve better government than this. We deserve better military than this. And all of those things are hindering our freedom, right? I mean, these are the kind of things that are supposed to allow us to be more free, allow us to be more safe, allow us to go out into the world and make anything happen. And they've done the opposite. It's all, oh, you can't make that happen. Oh, you can't make that happen. Oh, we have to invade this country based on lies and use up all of your extra money that we could easily run the government on and solve so many problems across the country. We have to spend it all on the military. Again, limiting our freedom, limiting the evolution of mankind. Because in this world, it takes some kind of resources in order to make things happen. Again, I think that if people come together, this is a human resource that if they truly come together, instead of identifying with their little, division, separate, tribal type groups. If you move beyond that and work together as American citizens, as human citizens, then we could have hope for this species. But having these standing armies, having all this money spent on military, all this money spent on policing, which is clearly doing no good to spend all this money on fucking policing. It's clearly having the opposite effect. Okay, spending all this money on fucking the military is clearly having the opposite effect. We're being told we are on the verge of nuclear war. Okay, I thought the only superpower in the world was supposed to make us safe. It's not. We're not getting freedom. We're being held back from freedom. And I myself know that the only way and the one sure way that we can overcome this evil, because it is pure evil, the one and only way is that if we come together. And we don't have to fight. We don't have to fight this evil. All we have to do is stand together, or actually sit together. All right? They already locked down the economy. They've already shown us the path for how it is that we can take our government back. And all we have to do is stand together, or again, sit together and go, yeah, we're not going to spend any money. We're not going to buy your fucking this. We're not going to buy your that. We're not going to buy any bullshit off of Amazon. 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, whatever it takes. And not just that, we shut down services, like public transportation, just because there's no one there to use the public transportation, and so much more. And how much crime would we shut down if there wasn't people all over the streets? I think we could do this easily. I know we could do this easily, as opposed to this violent type revolution that we see in countries around the world. It doesn't have to be that way, especially in what's supposed to be a civilized country like the U.S. Okay, we're supposed to be the most civilized people in the world. And I think I think we have a long way to go before we're even close to that. And I would really like that. I would like that we are the solution, that we are headed towards making the world a better, safer place. Clearly, that is not what the United States is doing. Clearly, the Pentagon wants nothing more than conflict after conflict after conflict. The Pentagon wants this. The White House wants this. The Congress wants this, which means they're sending your mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, our sons and daughters off to die in war for no reason, because it doesn't make the world a safer place now, does it? We've watched for generations how this has not made the world a safer place. So why are we spending all this money? It apparently hasn't even made the United States a safer place, right? Imagine if all the hundreds of billions of dollars that goes into the military was about our local communities. And what can we do to make those communities a better place for everyone? instead of fucking up the planet, because that's what the military is doing. The military, the U.S. military, absolutely, positively, in no fucking way, shape, or form is making the United States safer or the world a safer place to be. Is it? I'm here. If I'm wrong, you tell me how I'm wrong. Okay? So we're spending half of all the money that gets spent by our government on the military, and all it's doing is making the world a less safe place. Why are we doing this? To make already rich, evil people even more rich. And I don't know if they can get more evil or not. And this is what's limiting our freedom. This is what's limiting our next evolution. This is what's held us back for, 10 generations, 10 generations. This ever-needing thirst for war by the military-industrial complex that runs our country. Again, they don't make the world safer. Clearly, they don't make the U.S. safer. Clearly, maybe if we were spending these hundreds of billions of dollars that they spend every year on the military in our local communities, our country would be a much safer place for our children to grow up. And maybe that should be a much bigger priority than some bullshit about making the world a safer place when it just obvious it does the exact opposite. Okay? Let's be real here, people. What's up, G? Oh, he hung up. I guess I was too in the middle of something. It's obvious where we're at. It's obvious that these people are holding back our entire species for the purpose of enriching themselves. Not just enriching themselves, but owning the world, making it impossible for us to, not just owning the world, owning the species, by making it impossible for us to evolve, for us to become a better planet for everyone. They clearly don't want that. They want all of us held down. They want all of us held back. And it's weird because they're holding themselves back also. If the entire species can't evolve, then they can't evolve either. But I guess they probably don't want to, because they're pretty good where they're at, owning the human race, right? I guess, if the world was to become a better place for everyone, then it would probably become a less good place for the 1%. A less good place, is that a proper sentence? It would be a lot less meaningful. I don't think it's less meaningful. This is what I don't understand about the super rich is they can be making good things happen in the world, and instead they're interested in going to Mars, which is not going to happen. Hello, caller.
Hey, Max.
What's up, G?
Well, I mean, when it comes to freedom is very subjective. It's all relative, Max. Define, if you want to be truly free, you have to be like an animal. Well, really like an animal.
Anarchy! Anarchy! Anarchy!
No. Beyond anarchy, though. Because with anarchy, you still maintain certain human essence. You become you still maintain certain boundaries, though, through your behavior. Your behavior pretty much rule what you do and what you don't, and what you think is right and what you think is wrong.
Well, I don't think being free is being able to take a shit on my neighbor's lawn like the dog does. So we're clear, Manny. I think being free is able to make the things that I want happen in the world, to be able to connect with people, to be able to to work together, to have governments and police places that make our communities safer. They're not doing that. That's my problem here, Manny. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, if you want to be truly free, Mark, as a human, you have to act like an actual feral human. Like an actual animal. We have to be like little animals and feel like actual animals to be truly free.
What does a human animal act like, Manny?
They don't care about the rules. They don't actually think or do. They just do literally whatever they want to. And even a thinking human have boundaries, though, because they know what's right and wrong, and they have a conscience. But when an animal, usually an animal don't have a conscience, though, but they do act in instinct, and even with the instincts.
How do you know that animals don't? How do you know that animals don't have a conscience?
They don't have a conscience.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Because animals actually can do whatever they want.
Well, that doesn't mean that they don't care about each other and they don't help each other. They don't try and do the right thing when it's necessary to be done. Not all animals. I've seen crows. I've seen crows care about other crows. I've described watching a squirrel care for another squirrel before on this program. It's I think that there is some kind of conscience there, not and I think that's a natural part of being, on this planet for most intelligent beings. So, it's not that animals don't have a conscience. It's that we don't perceive it because we're not open to thinking that trees have thoughts. Okay, we don't look at trees like they're some kind of conscious being. That is a fucking giant mistake. Who the fuck are we to think that we know that trees don't have consciousness? Okay, do you get it?
We're humans.
No.
We do whatever we want.
That doesn't mean that we know everything.
We never know anything, Mark. We're not God. Only God knows everything. And we don't even know where God came from. Here's something even deeper than that. God knows everything except where God comes from. That's an Alex Jones quote.
Except what?
Where God's coming from.
God doesn't know where God is coming from.
Like God knows everything except where He's coming from. Think about that for a second.
I don't know. Explain it to me for a second.
No. It's a what's it called? A rhetorical question.
Okay. Okay. God either knows everything. God either knows everything or God does not know everything. So that's the way everything works, Manny.
It's pretty much like a weird conundrum, like a weird contradiction about the philosophy. God knows everything except where it comes from.
That's the contradiction. That's the contradiction from Christian religions and other religions, is that God doesn't know everything because God doesn't know where God came from. Is that right? That's the contradiction.
Exactly.
That's the contradiction.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because God is supposed to know everything. But He doesn't know everything, though, because He doesn't know where He comes from.
Manny, okay, look at you. You clearly know nothing about God. Okay, so why?
No.
I just told you don't know anything about trees, and now you want to tell me that you know about God?
I don't know about God. But I know that the fact that apparently God knows everything except where it comes from.
How do you know that if you don't know anything about God?
That's true. That's a good point. I'll give that to you.
How do you know that trees don't have consciousness if you're not a tree?
I don't know. I just enjoy their bodies, their carcasses, their parts,
Yeah.
because their parts are very useful.
Well, they don't need.
Just like the bones of animals used to be very useful.
They don't
yeah.
need to be useful. Okay, trees don't. The way trees need to be useful is living and cleaning the air and making our world, and making homes for the little creatures everywhere and feeding them and doing all these things instead we don't need trees to build houses. We don't need trees to build anything. Okay, we have all kinds of materials that we can use, and the idea that somehow we need to cut down trees is a bunch of bullshit.
Speaking of trees, did you know that if you plant a tree, trees grow faster when there's a lot of contamination and smoke?
Yeah.
That's what's in place.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you know that I'm going to be planting trees all summer?
That's great, Mark.
I think
no,
so
but for
too.
real.
I think
Apparently trees grow faster in like more smoky cities though, because that's what the highest concentration of carbon dioxide is, and you need light carbon dioxide and water in order to convert it into sugar-like substance and cellulose. So the biggest source of carbon dioxide is going to be the cities. So they grow faster in the cities compared to in the middle of the Cascades in
Yeah, well, that proved my point, is that how valuable these are to us, because they're cleaning the air. They're cleaning so much stuff around us, around them, and we act like they're just there to be chopped down and made into fucking sticks, and it's a bunch of bullshit.
I mean, if you actually follow the laws of chemistry, you don't actually take out smoke, you just convert the smoke into a solid matter. So when you take out the smoke, the contamination, the carbon dioxide, the tree takes it and converts it into cellulose, into sugars. So
cleaning the air, cleaning the air. Okay, so this is obviously more important than building houses out of, when we could build houses out of cannabis or hemp.
No, because when the people will get high.
No, that's stupid, Manny. That's stupid, Manny. You need to fucking.
No, it's not stupid.
It is stupid.
People need to get covered.
Do you not care about the Bible, Manny? Or do you? Do you or don't
you?
you?
The Bible.
You do. In what way?
It provides like a fulfillment, a spiritual fulfillment on people.
And so it's the Word of God or not?
It's an interpretation of the Word of God. This is why we have so many.
And right at the beginning of the Bible it says, "I give unto thee all seed-bearing plants to use as meat." Use as meat meaning part of our daily lives. Okay, if anybody knows anything about cannabis and hemp, they know that it's a massive seed producer. Okay, so if you believe in the Bible, if you believe in God's Word, then why don't you figure it out, Manny, instead of having these fucking stupid biases that come from the 1920s. Reefer madness bullshit.
Hold on. So you care about the Bible then? Because I remember...
No, I don't give a fuck about the Bible. I don't give a fuck about the Bible. You care about the Bible, okay? And I'm telling you, you act like you don't get it. Like you didn't read the first fucking 10 pages of the Bible, Manny.
Hold on. We actually had a discussion about religions like a year and a half ago in the middle of the Black Lives Matter protest. And you actually get upset. And you said you hate the Bible, you said religion, and you don't want to know anything about it. And now you actually lecture me about the Bible.
Because I ask you, do you care about it? Have you read the Bible, Manny? Do you care that it says right at the beginning, "I give unto thee all seed-bearing plants"? Or is that just stupid to you?
No, that makes sense, though. I'm just surprised that you actually read the Bible, though. Even though
I didn't read the fucking Bible, okay? I didn't read the fucking Bible. I could care less about the fucking Bible. You care about the Bible. You care about God, okay? So fucking understand what you're supposed to think, okay? If you care about the Word of God, it's right there, and you act like it's evil. So figure it out, Manny.
so you're actually lecturing me on religion then?
No,
Wow, I didn't
I'm
know
actually,
about religion, though.
I'm
Like,
lecturing you on your fucking false values. That's what I'm lecturing you on, Manny.
So you have false values as well, Max.
Of course I do.
18 months ago, you told me that Jesus Christ can burn in hell, and you don't care about the Bible, and you're behind that rant because you're trying to take your bong about religion and stuff in the middle of the Musk show, and in the background, they were like literally cities burning down, and now you actually lecture me and tell me about the Bible? Come on, Max.
I don't give a fuck about the Bible. Okay? I'm telling you what's at the beginning of it because you care about the Bible. Okay? I don't know how you hear the words coming out of my mouth. You understand the words coming out of my mouth, right, Manny? Okay? If you care about what's written in the Bible, then fucking act like it instead of acting like somehow God made a mistake with cannabis. That is the fucking stupidest shit I ever fucking heard.
I mean, I can see your difference, like cognitive dissonance when it comes to the Bible and religion. But anyway.
No, what you can see if you're paying attention is that your Christian values are bullshit because you don't even believe in what's at the beginning of the Bible. You don't even believe God's own words, God's self. Okay, this isn't fucking Peter talking Peters and fucking Johns and fucking whoever else. Okay, this is God's word, and you want to act like you haven't ever heard it. And it's right there at the beginning of the Bible. So why don't you actually care about what God's saying? Why don't you actually care about God's creation, Manny? God created something evil like cannabis that grows everywhere around the world. Get a clue, dude.
All right, Mark.
All right, Manny.
Anyways,
All right. Okay, nice to hear from you.
All right, have a good day.
I don't want to lecture people on their religion. You do you, I'll do me. But don't stand up here and tell me that my goddess is somehow evil when your so-called God tells you right at the beginning of the Bible, the so-called Bible, which you stand next to, which you carry with you everywhere you go, that this all-knowing, perfect being made this huge mistake with cannabis, something that has been used as medicine for 1,000 generations. Do you know how long a generation is? 20 years. Cannabis has been used by this species for 1,000 generations, Manny. But it was clearly a mistake. And we could build our houses out of it. It is meant to be used as meat, okay? Used as meat in the Bible means to be a daily part of our lives. Wearing it as clothing, cannabis, hemp, wearing it as clothing, fueling our cars out of it, using it as medicine to help so many people, building our homes out of it. Did I say fueling our cars on it? And so feeding hundreds of millions of people. This is a big part of the solution. And again, because our freedom has been taken away, limited in this 20th century fucking, oh, this is bad. All of a sudden, these things are bad. Cannabis, cocaine, these things, Coca-Cola got its start because they put coca in the Coca-Cola. Okay? And if you wanted a quick pick-me-up, you'd go and do a Coca-Cola. A Coca-Cola. So, and you get a nice little blast of energy and you go about taking care of business. Okay? These were normal ways that human lived. These were normal human experiences up until the 1920s or so, at which point we needed to get control of the population. We needed to limit their freedoms. And, And obviously, it wasn't just the 1920s. I mean, the 1920s, isn't that when women got the right to vote? You know, and again, this is who our country is. Every single freedom that we've had has either been taken from us or we've had to fight for. And the only way we evolve is with freedom, with being able to do whatever it is that we can imagine. Can you imagine, right? If this species wasn't being limited by the 1% that controls everything, basically, if it wasn't being limited by them, if we were able to come together instead of being divided into these little tiny groups by them, if our imagination wasn't being limited and we could come together to work together on making the planet a better place for everyone. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the infrastructure that would be around the world? Can you imagine how green the planet would become almost overnight? Because if there's anything that humans are good at, they grow stuff pretty good. They have lots and lots and lots of experience. And so much more that we could make happen, moving our entire race forward. We could see these creatures like manatees and tigers and trees as being so valuable to every single human around the world, and really every single being around the world, because it comes back to this butterfly effect, right? This butterfly effect where everything is working perfectly, and then all of a sudden there's no more manatees, and it affects everything around the world, and it doesn't affect it in a positive way. It's not like, oh, them goddamn manatees are out of the fucking way now. You know, that's what rich people think, because they don't have to be asked anymore why they're not saving the manatees by people who actually genuinely care. And somehow, and this is part of the limitation of our brains, of our souls, of our being, of our species, is to act like there is no consciousness in a tree. It doesn't matter that it's lived for 250 years. Cut that bitch down. We need a fire. We need fire right now. The thing is, at this part in our evolution, we don't need trees for fire. We don't need trees for paper. We don't need trees for fabric. We don't need trees to build our homes, on and on and on. But the powers that be have us believing that we need to cut them all down because they're this natural resource, which they are. You know, especially if they're scrubbing the air of carbon, they're this amazing natural resource that cannot be replaced. But we're supposed to look at it like they're natural resource only if they're chopped down and chopped into little pieces and made thousands of dollars off of. Then they're a resource for fucking who? The person making money off of them? The evil motherfucker who wants to act like a 300-year-old tree is sitting there just so he can make fucking money off of it. Okay? This is the mindset of humans at this point, and it's totally programmed, it's totally bullshit, and it totally keeps our species from evolving. And if that's where you want to be, just act like you know that trees don't have consciousness because you're so smart and in tune with every creature around the world. It's just stupid to think that trees have consciousness. Is that right? Is that how shallow you really are? Because I'm not. And I believe that, you know, people don't have to be. They've just been programmed incorrectly. And I do I give them, a break as much as I can. Or just this cutting down trees thing is, like I said, losing the manatees is going to be this butterfly effect thing. And it's not just losing the manatees, it's losing species everywhere around the world. It's cutting down as many trees as we possibly can for the sole purpose of making profit. All these things are hindering us. All these things are holding our species back from evolving. This bullshit, we have to make war. We need more war. We need more war. Because that makes us all so much safer on the planet. We can see that this little tiny fucking skirmish going on in Ukraine, which immediately fucking heightens the nuclear threat. Immediately, this little tiny fucking skirmish. We can see how much safer the world makes the military, right? You can see that. You can understand what I'm telling you. Okay? The military isn't making the world a safer place. What the military is doing is clearly making the world less safe. And why would they do that? So that they have reason to spend more money on the military, because they have you brainwashed to believe that's the only way we can be safe in the world, is to send our military out, our military might around the world to make sure everyone knows we're the only motherfucking superpower. How is that working out for us? How is that working out for the world? Destroying Yemen, destroying Syria, turning Iraq into rubble. How is that working out for us? Is that a good thing? Is that what we should be spending our money on? Murdering 1 million innocent Iraqis? Is that what you want? Because that's who we are. And if you don't see how limiting that is to our soul, to our growth, we have no hope. There is no hope. I don't care. I don't care. I mean, I don't care if humans go away, except for the fact that if humans go extinct, so does every single other living being on the planet. Not because humans are such great caretakers of the world, but exactly the opposite. Because humans are horrible, horrible caretakers of this perfect blue-green jewel, which we have been gifted to be the caretakers of. We've done the exact opposite. That's why if humans die, if humans go extinct, every other creature on the planet dies. Because we're horrible stewards of this of this beautiful blue-green jewel. We're horrible, 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 and we deserve better, because that's not who humans are. It's not. What's up, G?
Hey, Mark. Hey,
Hey, Manny. You figured out how to do it. Good.
well, I know, man.
Of course you
I
do.
know. Oh, God, that tastes like shit, man. The fuck am I doing?
When was the last time you tasted shit?
A long time ago, baby. Long time ago. I can't remember when. Can't remember.
But you can remember what it tastes like, huh?
It was the government who gave it to me, that's for sure. Thank God. God bless America. God bless the bomb manufacturers. God bless the flag makers. God bless Grandma and apple pie. God bless
The cheese makers.
the IRS. God, there's my new song. God bless the IRS.
There you go. That's a good plan. I would go with that, dude. You better write it down right now.
Yeah.
Fucking stoner.
I can't remember that far. What did I just say? I just woke up, dude. I got my coffee.
Lucky.
What time is it?
It's
4:20 somewhere. 4:20
You know what
somewhere.
time it is? You know what time it is? You know
What
what
time
time
is
it
it,
is? You know what time it is?
What time is it, Mark?
It's crime o'clock, baby.
now. What day is it? Now. Today. It's today.
That would be correct. That would be correct, sir. It is today.
Yeah. So, I am just sitting here with coffee and a cigarette, and fuck the motherfuckers. That's what I think. Fuck the motherfuckers. Fuck all the crazy, dumb, drug addict, alcoholic, low-life motherfuckers. Fuck them all. I got you, guys. I got you, motherfucker. I got you. Got fucking court papers on you, motherfuckers. All of you.
Oh, we must have been disconnected. Sorry about that, motherfuckers. Anyways, as I was saying, I have a couple more videos for you. I'm going to go ahead and play one now about ghost guns. We were talking about ghost guns a minute ago. And when I come back, we will have another bong hit. So thanks so much for tuning in. Be right back. And again, this is limiting freedoms. And this is such a distraction, this ghost gun thing. Oh, we're getting the ghost guns off the street. We're cracking down on the ghost guns. How many ghost guns are there in this country? You know how many? There's like hundreds of millions of actual guns, but ghost guns are like, oh yeah, I don't know, it's total distraction, total bullshit. Again, I don't want gun laws. I don't want, they're doing this bullshit with the limiting the size of magazine. Oh, see what we're doing? The crooks don't care about your bullshit gun laws. What you're doing is limiting the safety of a proper gun owner. Somebody who understands, the responsibility of a gun. You're undermining the ability for a responsible gun owner to protect themselves against people who, have this criminal mindset and don't give a fuck about any of your laws. So why are you putting this on to, and what kind of fucking morons think that somehow this is making us safer? Because it's not. Okay? It's not making the good, responsible, law-abiding citizens who the politicians should really be concerned with. It's not making them safer. So, fuck your fucking laws and stop holding the evolution of humans from happening. Stop holding it back. You fucking evildoers. Not you, but you know who I'm talking to. I will be back momentarily. Thanks so much for tuning in. Crackdown on ghost guns. Here we go.
Meanwhile, President Biden is on a journey to disarm America. The president has announced a ban on so-called ghost guns, which are basically guns made from parts that people can purchase in a kit and MacGyver together themselves. The president claims these guns are the weapon of choice for criminals. But is this ban unconstitutional? And would it actually reduce crime? Here with me in studio, the anchor of Fox News at Night. We're always searching in the night for the author of the brand new book, The Mothers and Daughters of the Bible Speak. She's a New York Times bestseller. Shannon Bream is back.
It is so good to see you in person.
In person. I'm so happy you're here.
Me too.
I mean, this is a heavy subject because it's one of those things, it's almost like a straw man, like a false flag, where people go, yes, ghost guns, make those illegal. And it's a new form of gun control where they're just giving something a scary sounding name so they can pass a bunch of legislation and write a bunch of executive orders that reduce constitutionally sound gun rights in this country.
Well, the crazy thing is the people on both sides of this, gun rights advocates and gun control advocates, are like, this is not going to do anything. I mean, there are a few people who say, yes, this sounds great. It's good going into the midterms, tough on crime. Democrats know they got to beef up on that message. And there's been pressure on the president to do this. But already there are lawsuits that are about to be dropped and filed. It's an executive order. If you're going to go after the Second Amendment in any way, shouldn't that be legislated on Capitol Hill? And this kind of stuff would not get past Capitol Hill. They know that. So they're going to try an executive order and see what happens. But my spidey sense tells me the courts are not going to be real happy with this avenue by the president.
The courts and the Congress, which if the House flips and becomes Republican, this is an absolute non-starter, but it's also one of those things like, you know, the designation assault weapons. Like no one can really say what it is.
Cosmetic features.
Yeah, and even today, the mayor of New York City was talking about the horrific attack today on the subway, and he was talking about weapons of mass destruction. And it's like, really? Mustard gas and Stinger missiles? Is that what we're seeing? Or are you talking about ghost guns? Because it gets very nebulous.
It does. And two, there are so many federal gun laws, and prosecutors will tell you, and law enforcement officers will tell you, they don't prosecute those cases. They're not brought. And so you can keep adding to the federal laws that are on the books or try to an executive action this way. But if prosecutors don't actually do anything, and if people do actually get prosecuted or charged and they bail out, those are all problems that are part of this chain of conversation of gun violence that have to be part of what we're discussing.
Yes. And, you know, you've got a Supreme Court right now that I think would take a very interesting look at any constitutional challenge to the Second Amendment. And I don't think it would come up in favor of politicians like Eric Adams or Gavin Newsom or President Biden.
I think if you check in with Justice Clarence Thomas, he's got some definite opinions on the Second Amendment. And the fact that he thinks the court hasn't actually taken up enough cases to at least look at the contours of what really is constitutional and what's not. There is a case pending right now at the Supreme Court out of New York here that has to do with the Second Amendment. We're waiting on the opinion, could come any day. But clearly, I don't think this is the case that the Biden administration is going to want to end up at the Supreme Court. I don't think it would end well for them.
I think you're absolutely right. So we'll keep our eyes on it. Thank goodness we have you not only at the High Court, but on the top issues. Shannon Bream.
At your service.
A
Anytime.
bream come true. Am I awake or am I breaming?
Pinch yourself.
You're right. Topical Storm is next.
Okay, so we have sunrise, another lovely morning in the Ukraine. In case anybody's looking, oh, look at that pond right there. I wonder if there's fish in that, huh? I am very much looking forward to visiting the Ukraine sometime soon because it looks like a lovely place to hang out for a few days. Now, that being, and they have some of the hottest women on the face of the planet. Although I think I would rather go to Portugal. So, where were we? Let's talk about the movie Free Guy. You all know that I love this movie. It's part of the reason that I used the thumbnail for this particular show is because I love the movie. But there is this message underneath the movie. Actually, I think there's a couple of messages. It's a little complicated. But it's about, you know, people just doing this thing that they're expected to do. And I mean, literally in the movie, this is a spoiler alert, by the way, if you don't want to know about the movie Free Guy. In the movie, they literally say the sentence, you know, what is there to figure out? You know, you get up in the morning, you have your coffee, you go to work, you go home, you go to sleep, and then you start the same thing over again. Which, for myself, you know, I don't get up and go to work and do that stuff. But I see this movie, and what happens is this person, this character, this background character is about a video game. And this background character that Ryan Reynolds plays, he tries to do something that's not in his programming. He tries to actually see, you know, to be one of the cool people, you know, because he sees a girl, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of a love story. Anyways, and he steps out of that rut. He moves himself out of that rut. He moves himself into becoming a legendary being because he followed his own path. He was stuck in this life where you get up, you have your morning coffee, you go to work, you go home, you go to sleep, and then you start the whole thing all over again. And he's very happy in that life, very happy, except for there was this longing for something that was missing. And and when he steps out of this comfort zone, because this longing for something, makes him step out of his comfort zone to make this thing happen that he really wants to make happen. That's what we're being kept from doing, right? I've talked about being the top of the food chain in the past. I've talked about we're meant to be these beings on this planet that can make anything happen. We have this, almost anything that we can imagine, right? We have this big brain, and we have these hands that can do so much stuff, and we have these great creative imaginations, right? And if instead of we were separated, instead of it was all about me, and I have to keep my idea to myself because somebody else finds out about it, they're going to steal my idea and I won't be able to make money or whatever. I don't know. If we could just be open and share a free thought of idea. I know people think that's what's going on the internet, but I think this last plague thing, clearly shows that there isn't the free exchange of information on the internet. And not just that, it's that, so much more. You can't just speak your mind anymore on the internet. You will be censored. And again, this is one of those things, if we're not able to communicate, we can't move forward. And if what we communicate about is controlled and limited, we can't move forward. And that's the way they want it. And this is what I'm saying, is, there's the powers that be. And this is about this movie, Free Guy. There's this power that be, and they don't care if they have to destroy everything in order to, they don't care that the manatees die. They don't care who dies. What they care about is making money. And it's really interesting in the movie, as far what Free Guy is about, is like all these people in this game, in this video game, they all play it this one way. They all play it basically the same way. Violence, death, destruction, blowing shit up, punching people in the face that are just walking down the street. They all play it the same way. Every single player. And then this guy, a background player, becomes self-aware and begins to play the game, and he plays it completely different than all the other people. And that again is the way humans are meant to be. That's why we have this individual, such incredible individuality. And yet we want to group it. Again, we want to break us down into these little groups and put this label on us, instead of thinking of us as these incredible individuals who, if we all were empowered to go our own way and make the things happen in the world that we can imagine, that we have the ability to imagine and make happen, and people came together, we could make. Instead, we're making wars. Why are we making wars? In order to make the planet safer. Does it seem like the planet's getting safer, spending all this fucking money on military, on shit that blows people up? Okay, is that making the world safer? Is that making our country safer? Because as far as I know, we're on the edge of nuclear holocaust, nuclear devastation, nuclear war, because spending half of the money that our government spends on military, it makes us so much safer, right? I'm just going to enjoy a cup of tea. I'm going to enjoy the company of the lovely Boo Bear. I'm going to enjoy the trees while they're still here, the owls, the squirrels. And I don't really care about stuff, I don't care about stuff. And again, the only reason I care about the human species going extinct is because they're going to take every other living creature, every species on this planet with them. And and that's going to be the human legacy, right? If this is an experiment to see how Homo sapiens work out, how Homo sapiens evolve, if this is an experiment to see that, right? Let's see how humans do. We'll give them this perfect blue-green jewel that they can live in and make almost anything they can imagine happen. All the resources they're going to need for 1 million generations. Let's do this experiment and see what happens with humans, right? Let's see if they're worthy of, I don't know, space travel throughout the galaxy, whatever the test is here, right? And our human legacy is going to be the extinction of every single creature on the planet. That's right now, that's going to be the legacy of humankind. And it seems to me that, that this separation, that these labels that you can't wait to put on yourself, and other people, by the way, are almost assuredly going to make happen the extinction of humans. So we got to figure this out, because otherwise the human legacy is going to be something worthy of banning humans from existence in the universe. They're not. It's a stupid experiment. They shit where they eat, okay? We think we're so damn smart, and we shit where we eat. That's you want to boil humans down to basically who they are at this point in human history. They shit where they eat. That's who humans are right now. And we think we're so far advanced from every other creature on the planet. It's so weird, right? And this is, again, part of the problem, is this, instead of thinking that somehow we're this fucking perfect creature that and the world is just this, pool of natural resources that we should suck every single one of them dry without hesitation, for the sole purpose of making rich people more rich. Oh. I love humans. I was watching a cartoon last night, Superhero Girls. I love that cartoon. Got Tara Strong. Tara Strong is probably the entertainer that has given me the most laughs throughout my adult lifetime. Hello, caller.
Hey, Mike. How was your Tuesday today? Tuesday evening.
It's cool. I'm gonna plant some seeds later, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I looked at the weather forecast, at least here in Valencia where I live, and it's snowing tonight. It's like snow, rain mixture with a low of 30 degrees. And it's supposed to be rainy for the next 4 days, overcast and rainy.
Awesome.
So that's the new. I know you love the rain and
I love all the weather, dude. I love the Northwest.
In the second week of April, by the way, so snow and rain.
Fucking
anyway,
awesome.
It's cold. It's cold.
Cold like a witch's tit.
Whatever.
Nobody uses that expression anymore.
That's great for October and November and maybe December, but it's fucking April, man. It's cold.
That's the Northwest for you. Another perfect Northwest afternoon, as I like to say.
Yeah. I wanted to mention something that you didn't mention, at least so far in your program, and that was that the Prime Minister of Pakistan was removed from power last week on Friday, I think it was, or Thursday.
Is that Imran Khan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Imran Khan was a populist leader. He was a cricket player, popular sports player, and had a lot of support with the young people in Pakistan who were looking for something new.
Yeah.
Because Pakistan had been ruled by these political families in succession, one after the other. There's like 3 families that run Pakistan politics. So he broke through, and he was from an unusual part of the country. He was from the countryside. He wasn't from one of the big cities. And anyway, what happened was about 3 weeks ago, he went to Russia, Mike, and he was in Russia when Russia invaded Ukraine. He just happened to be there on a visit. And the visit was encouraged by the leaders of China. So, yeah, Pakistan should develop, positive relations with Russia. And they were there when Russia invaded. And he did not speak out at all about Russia's foreign policy or Russia's military policy. Then he went back to Pakistan. And then within 3 weeks, there was this constitutional crisis that was created by the opposition government.
Yeah.
And he tried to stop it by there's all these different machinations and ways that he tried to stop it. But at the end of the day, the Supreme Court ruled that they could vote on whether or not he could continue to be prime minister, and he lost the vote by 6 votes out of 400 votes, so 6 or 8 votes. And after he was removed, he said that he was removed by U.S. imperial powers. He was removed by the West. He was removed by the fucking U.S. CIA, right?
Uh-huh.
He's the second or third leader in a few years that we've heard this from, right?
Yeah.
Remember in Bolivia with Evo Morales, the Organization of American States said that the election wasn't cool, and therefore that the elections were illegitimate, and then recognized a leader in Bolivia who wasn't even elected to be the leader of Bolivia. And it turned out there were just election irregularities because these were in remote places where the voting was occurring. He actually won the election, but he got kicked out of power by a right-wing government that was, and when he left office, he said, yeah, the fucking CIA just kicked me out of government, or the American government just removed me from my post, right?
Yeah, I've talked about this before about the CIA fomenting, dissatisfaction, dissidents in countries, movements to get, just like here where the FBI fucking, totally fucking invents this, bullshit, let's kidnap the governor shit. The CIA goes down there and they instigate these people to get, they give them money, they give them, resources, and it's all about, standing up and creating division with the current government. If we do that here, it's called fucking treason or insurrection or sedition, But there, the CIA is doing it with our money.
So this Imran Khan guy also was an Islamist. And this idea in the Muslim world that all of because there's 250 million people who live in Pakistan, and it's the second most populous Muslim nation in the world. And Islamabad, that nation, that the city that's the capital, is also a revered site for Muslims as well. So one of the things that was happening is Muslims around the world were looking to Pakistan as kind of being a stabilizing force in the Muslim world. But by having this leader removed, it's going to increase the power of the Arab world. So one of the hypotheses that I was reading is United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia will benefit from from Pakistan kind of moving back into the American sphere of influence, if that's what happens. However, China also is part of, Pakistan is part of China's Belt Road Initiative.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of developments. Like China is building ports in Lahore, which is a big port city, and they're building rail lines that go across northern Pakistan, and they're also building pipelines in Pakistan as well. This is the government of China. So as far as I've read so far, all of those agreements are going forward. But by putting a new government in power, any one of those projects can be stalled whenever the American government wants to put pressure on China, or they can just shut those projects down in Pakistan with political pressure. And also, Pakistan is on the border of India, and they've had 5 wars or something in the last 65 years, and they both have nuclear weapons as well. So it's a destabilizing element in the region. It also, of course, borders Afghanistan.
Yeah, Pakistan has had a lot of problems for well over a decade. So,
So since the beginning of when they became country, Mike, they have never had a prime minister fulfill his full 5-year term.
That's crazy talk.
Ever.
I like the idea. I wish we were running presidents out of the White House every other term. That would be awesome.
Except for most of those governments were removed by pressure from the military, like a military dictatorship.
Yeah.
So it isn't the people.
Right.
It isn't the people rising up. It's the military saying, "Oh, maybe you're being a little too nice to the people."
Yeah.
Or maybe you're being a little too close to Russia. Or maybe you have too many economic relationships with China. Remember our friends in Washington, D.C.?
Mm-hmm.
And then they remove the government and so on and so forth. So it is kind of a big deal. I haven't seen very much coverage of it in the media, and I want to just throw it out there on the table for your listeners and viewers so that they can see, recognize we probably had our fingers in a pie overthrowing another government in the world to try and, break up the kind of alliance that China and Russia is making with all of these countries in Central Europe as they try to align themselves against the Western banks and against the Western arms, all of those people, the oil companies, the fucking oligarchs, the real fucking oligarchs.
We need to see people standing up, and it's politicians who do that are always immediately removed. People who are about the people, politicians who are about trying to help the people have better lives and prop them up in ways that, like you're saying, the powers that be don't like. Anybody who's about the working class or the people just gets, kicked out of office pretty damn quickly.
Yeah, it seems that way. It seems that, if you have a conscience and you try to follow through with the goodwill that you developed with the people. I watched that House of Cards program last night for 12 hours. I watched the first episode of the season of House of Cards.
Mm-hmm.
And that really does show, how corruption works, right? And how politicians manipulate other people to get what they want and so forth. And I think this kind of comes back to this idea of freedom, just to loop it back around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this Wikipedia article about freedom, and it says there's 2 different ways of looking at freedom, 2 concepts. Okay, there's negative liberty, which is a concept that is used in political philosophy. It's the idea that freedom means being able to do what you want without any external obstacles. Nothing gets in your way to achieve your goals. So using that definition of negative liberty as a way of looking at freedom, that character in House of Cards, the Kevin Spacey character, Frank Underwood, the vicious congressman who gets whatever he fucking wants, he kind of is free, right? Because he has the liberty to do whatever the fuck he wants without any external constraints to what he's doing.
Yeah, like the 1%, pretty much.
Like the 1%. And this, I think, it's ingrained into people, as forms of propaganda that, in order for you to be free, well, if you had everything you wanted, and you could do anything you wanted, that's kind of a weird way of looking at the world. Because the world has never been like that. Ever, ever, ever has the world ever been like that. That's a weird fucking construct. There have always been limitations placed on humans. Always. There's so much food that's available. You know, there's so much water that's available. There's so much land that's available
I don't think
growing food.
I don't think it was that way. You said always. I don't think it's always been that way. But you know, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, you know, there was a time when there was plenty of water. There was a time when there was plenty of food. You know, and humans, again, that's one of the things that humans are really good at is growing food. So it doesn't make any sense at this point in human, history that there's hungry people in the world. Go ahead.
Well, they also have a proclivity for fucking and reproducing as well. They do that very well. Humans do that. Therefore, like in 1800,
I don't know if they do it very well. I think they're, I think that they're pretty prolific at it. But you would think that if they did it well, they do it with some kind of consciousness that, okay, we're going to bring another perfect little soul into the world. I don't think they do it that way mostly. Go ahead.
Well, I think in the past it was out of necessity. People had children out of necessity.
What?
So if you had a farm, a 50-acre farm, and you needed to grow food to make it a year, if you had 6 workers instead of 3 workers, probably would be easier to grow enough food to keep all 6 of you alive.
Right, and then when you have 6, you have to grow more food because you need to cover the other workers, and then you have the ability to grow more food, but it's like this never-ending kind of thing where you need more people. It's because we began, instead of being hunter-gatherers, we became people who grew our own food. Because when we were hunter-gatherers, we'd spend an hour or 2 a day gathering up what we needed for that day or that couple of days. And then and then we'd go about our lives and see what we wanted to make happen with the rest of their day. But when we became these people who cultivated plants and started to feed people by growing our own food, not only did we kind of become more sedentary, where we were, we didn't move around, we didn't travel because there's food over here in the summer and food over here in the winter. We didn't do that anymore. We just stayed in this one place, and it becomes, like I said, this fulfilling prophecy. Like you can't stop making more people because you need them to keep making more food. It's
we're stuck in a weird loop, like a weird cycle that keeps fucking repeating itself and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the problems like war and poverty and all of that becomes even greater and greater every time it circles around to the next level, like where we're at today. However, the reason I brought that number up is the population of Earth today is 7.9 billion people. And there were 1 billion people, more or less, on Earth about 1800, 200 years ago, 250 years ago. There were 1/7 the amount of people. I read this number. It was a number about carbon in the atmosphere. We have to talk about it, but I mean, the number I read was that 60% of the carbon dioxide that's in the atmosphere right now was put into the atmosphere since 1990.
Yeah.
Right? So that means that all of the fucking previous carbon burned in gasoline engines and burned in generators over the previous 250 years was only 40% of the carbon in the atmosphere, and all the rest of it has just been there in the last 30 or 35 years. That's the kind of shit that happens, is that everything just becomes exponentially a bigger problem. And that affects the human conception of freedom, Mike, because as you know, I feel free or unrestrained when I'm in a national forest 10 miles away from a campground and 3 miles down a trail away from any other human being. I haven't seen a human being in 24 hours. I feel free. And I'm lucky because I get a chance to experience that 5 or 6 times a year, where I can go to a place and I don't see another fucking human being for 24 hours and I'm free. All right? But there's very few places where people live, and I don't just mean in the United States, but anywhere in the world. You know, it gets more and more difficult to find those places, you know, as people develop land. So the idea that you can even be one with nature anywhere in the world, you're going to be trespassing on somebody's land, you're not, you know, whatever. You're not allowed to be there. You're not permitted to be there. You're not allowed to have a campfire. Don't put up a tent or you'll go to jail. I mean, this is all over the world. It isn't just in the United States.
Yeah.
Therefore, kids, I think, and by kids, I mean people who are younger than me, and I'm in my mid-50s, but I mean kids like, say, who are 15 to 25 years old. I'll use that as a definition. I think they have willingly sacrificed their freedom online. I don't even think they have their concept of freedom is much different than mine in terms of how willing they are to give their personal information to private corporations and how unconcerned they are about the surveillance state monitoring everything that they're doing, you know, 24/7.
Yeah.
Whereas like our generation, like, well, I'll just say Gen X for the sake of convenience, right? But Gen Xers, I think, are more suspicious of giving the government all of our information, all of our personal data. Maybe we have more respect for privacy. But I think that younger people also, they don't see a future in a way, so they kind of are willing to sacrifice their liberties and their privacy so they can be amused. Like,
Yeah.
Or they can be distracted,
Yeah.
like bred in circuses, so they don't have to really think about the fucked up nature of the reality that they're living in. Instead, I'm going to post random photographs of myself on TikTok and play some mindless fucking video game that has nothing except for, it's a pattern that just repeats itself over and over and over again with bright lights. And I'm going to stare at that, and that's going to be my reality.
Yeah. Well,
They're okay with that.
I saw a video the other day with Elon Musk, and he was talking about how we're all cyborgs now, you know, and if you think about it, you know, what he's saying is that we're all part of the hive. We're all constantly connected. We're all constantly taking information about, you know, what we're supposed to do next, which direction we're supposed to go. All these things are constant. It's this never-ending connection thing, and it's very strange. I think that he's right. You know, resistance is futile. And when you talk about young people, it's if they don't have these phones, right? There's something wrong with them. If they're not playing this video game, there's something wrong with them. And everyone, generally 99% of people, especially young people, have this thing about wanting to, you know, not be somehow criticized for who they are, you know. And so I think it's really hard. I think it's really hard for them to break out of that loop or whatever. Go ahead.
Yeah, and a lot of them will use the freedom thing, right? Like, I am free to do whatever the fuck I want to do, even if it's destructive to them and to others. And that's where, like, people deserve to be called out on their shit, right? Like, when you actually are doing something that's kind of destructive, I mean, or like, why do you have to give people praise all of the time? What is that part of the human program? I don't think so. That seems to be like, also the way capitalists use the word free. It's the most fucking popular word in the goddamn English language, right? It's on every advertisement. Free. That band Negativland did a really good cover song about freedom's waiting, free. You know, it just does tape loops from commercials about using the word free and freedom in their advertising. And it's just inundated our brains. Like, you know, since the moment we're born, how many times have we heard the word free in its proper context? Like, we know what the word means. You know, we've been told what it means. It's free. Freedom. Freedom. It's freedom.
I don't know. I say it like 20 times an episode at least. So.
I know. But I think we've been told that word since we were little kids. Instead of like cooperative action, work with your neighbors,
Yeah.
Try to share things with people. How about like give things away, give things, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I talk about that a lot about little kids, people in high school, and from the time they go to elementary school, not necessarily kindergarten, but first grade until the time they graduate high school, every fucking day for however long class lasts, there should be one class about empathy. And every single day, and it would change the fucking world in one generation. But they don't want to do that.
That's an excellent idea, Mike. I agree. I would throw in philosophy, as well. I think kids are smart enough when they're in elementary school to understand abstract ideas.
Yeah.
And that, when they're like 11 or 12 years old, they can understand what autocracy or democracy or like whatever expression is, what those words are, and what they have with political meaning. I think kids understand that stuff, and that that should be part of their curriculum as well. Of course, social studies and arts and language arts, those are the kinds of programs that just get dumbed down, and they're just given a big fat textbook from a textbook company in Texas.
Yeah.
That just has a real cursory kind of idea of what American social studies is, and it always promotes it in a pro-capitalist way.
Yeah.
Corporations are your friends. Sponsored by Coca-Cola, sponsored by Ford, sponsored by whoever. Sponsored by Microsoft, sponsored by Amazon.
Sponsored by the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, and I think that this pandemic thing, this scamdemic thing, this COVID fraud bullshit, has a lot to do with promoting American products overseas in a duplicitous way. First of all, the pharmaceutical companies themselves, have American names on them, where they're selling them and giving them away to all these people around the world. They're now getting an American drug. But also the digital ID passports and the big tech companies that are tracking people who have agreed to be vaccinated and want to be tracked for work or for whatever reasons. Those systems are global. So those systems that like we're using in America, or they're using in France, or they're using in Europe, they're using those same systems, or in China, they're using those same systems all over the world. And people are just accepting it as part of the normal reality. So that's going to lead to cashless economy, and it's going to lead to a surveillance state, a global surveillance state, right? So the freedom.
I don't think it's leading to that. I think we have a global surveillance state already, but they're expanding it greatly.
Yeah, they're expanding it, and so I guess in the context of our conversation, what we imagined as like another movie I watched this weekend was Over the Edge, that movie about the kids in Colorado who lock all of their parents and teachers in a school and then burn all of their cars in a parking lot.
I haven't seen that.
That is a great movie. Kurt Cobain said it was one of the most influential movies of his youth because it described kind of what he experienced with teenage angst and rebellion. It's a very good movie.
And it's an example of exactly what I'm saying about if we come together, we have all the power, from what you described.
Yeah, so in that movie, the kids, which were like, I saw the movie like in 1981 or something, and it just resonated with me. But those kids were already alienated when that. So at the time that we were teens, kids were already super fucking alienated, and now with the phone and with the intensive video games and with like the social media, all of this, they're just incredibly like out of touch, I think, with reality, freedom, with what the idea of what you have the liberty or freedom to do even. Go make a painting. What are you fucking talking about? Go write a book. Really? Just give me my, go do something like that. And I guess what I'm saying is, like, with the surveillance state, like, I think in the future, 10 or 15 years in the future, the freedoms that these kids have today people who are 15 to 25, are going to be like, those will be the freedoms that they'll remember. And, so they'll even get more and more restricted with time, as we kind of get into our little cubicles and our little boxes with our screens and our whatever, however they monitor us. It's dystopia.
Well, to say the least. I mean, that's it's like I said. Humans are headed towards this legacy of basically killing every single creature on the planet. That is going to be the legacy at this time in human history. The direction that we're headed. That is exactly going to be the legacy of humans. In my opinion, that will probably have them, outlawed or whatever. They no longer exist throughout the universe, because what's the point? They shit where they eat.
Yeah, I admit, I'm a little suspicious of the videos from Shanghai of the people yelling from the high rises, just because I fucking always am looking for CIA propaganda.
Yeah.
And that's just like perfect CIA propaganda. However, just assuming it's real for a second, I definitely sympathize with all of those people in those apartment buildings, right? If they can't leave their cubicles for a week or whatever from lockdown. And all of these COVID policies are just testing us. I think they're just testing to see like how far they can fucking go, to like they did with lockdowns. And all of these are psychological operations so that when if they go to war, they can control the population very easily. Very easy to control people. That's true here in the United States as well.
Yeah, I mean, they already have them hypnotized by fear and violence and flashing lights, and it doesn't. I mean, it would be really easy once you get them hypnotized. People become very, very suggestible. That's why hypnosis works. That's why it helps people make stuff happen. It's because they become suggestible and they're able to go, oh yeah, they open their mind. Again, this is something I've talked about with the flashing lights being a very basic way of hypnotizing people. And
a lot of people have referenced Edward Bernays in the 1920s, who was the father of modern public relations, and also worked for the U.S. government to promote World War I. And he developed these techniques that he brought to advertising that made things like smoking for women to be, very appealing, and using sex to sell cars, and using primal human emotions to manipulate people to buy. Anyway, Mike, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for giving me a couple minutes to chat with you. I appreciate your time always.
Yeah, Chris, it's good to hear from you, and thanks for the movie recommendations and all the information.
Over the Edge, House of Cards. House of Cards was fucking weird, Mike. Although I admit I watched it, and I'm watching season 2 tonight. Another 10 hours of House of Cards. I guess I needed a Kevin Spacey fix. He is a very good actor, and I don't know what he did that was so horrible. It sounds like he made a pass at a 14-year-old when he was drunk. At least that's the allegation that he.
Who hasn't done that, right?
But I'm just saying, like, if that, and it happened like fucking 25 years ago or something too. So I mean, it all was real suspicious. Like, I know there's photographs of him with Ghislaine Maxwell, and he he hangs out with rich Hollywood people, and they're all suspect, and I get it, right? But like, if they're all suspect, why do you just pick on one of them to ban forever?
Yeah.
If you feel that way, you should just never fucking watch a Hollywood movie ever again in your life, because the whole industry is corrupt to a degree. But the acting, like, he's a good actor. And would you ban all of his movies just because you found out he made a mistake 25 years ago? That he wasn't even charged with a crime for?
Again, this comes back to this thing about I don't think that's any of anybody's business. So, but I can't watch the shows that have too much violence. Like when they, you know, they're like, oh, so sad. I can't stand it when the violins start to play.
Oh, right. I got it. Yeah. I don't like the over melodramatic romance overture bullshit as well. It's really annoying. Or the emotive violins. You know, like you're supposed to feel emotional.
Right. You're supposed to be sad. You're supposed to be sad.
It's a good point. Music is a big part of film and kind of like manipulating people. All right. Anyway, I'm looking forward to listening to another caller if my internet connection cooperates, considering it's raining and snowing outside right now.
It's snowing outside right now?
No, it's just supposed to get down to 30. And no, it's not right now. But it's supposed to, we're having precipitation tonight, so I might actually see some snowstorms tonight. Like, you know, whatever flurries.
Yeah, I saw it a couple nights ago. It would snow for like 30 seconds, and then it would rain for 60 seconds, and it would snow for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
It's a cold rain. Okay, have a good night, Mike.
All right, thanks for calling, Chris. Good to hear from you. All right, so that's our buddy Chris from Olympia. And again, it is another lovely morning in the Ukraine. And we always enjoy watching the sun come up over the Ukraine. I mean, it's just lovely, right? It looks like a really cool place to just chill out, doesn't it? Where were we? Right, we were talking about freedom. What was I saying to Chris? I was saying something. I don't remember. I don't know how you guys remember all this stuff. We didn't talk about the lockdown results. Okay, I have a video about them trying to lock down freedom of speech in Canada. And I wanted to play this video because, again, it's this thing about freedom and about freedom of speech and about, you know, are we really free? And this is what governments do, is to try and limit our freedom more and more. When they should be standing up to protect them, they limit them. You know, they spend all this money on making war. And why? Because it limits what we can do. It limits how good our country can be. And it doesn't make the world any safer. I want to be real clear about that. This thing about, oh, we have to be the only superpower in the world. It's not making our country safer. It's not making the world safer. It needs to end. Be right back. Freedom of speech being limited in Canada, even more than it already has been.
Canada, what a decent, beautiful country filled with nice people. Unfortunately, it's now an authoritarian country. Justin Trudeau's government has just outlawed independent journalism in Canada. The government now requires that journalists possess a journalism license. Now, to get that license, the journalists have to report favorably on Justin Trudeau's government. Rebel News, as one of Canada's few honest news outlets, did not get a license. Right, that's called censorship, and it's not surprising. Last year, Justin Trudeau tried to have Rebel News banned from covering a debate in Canada. A judge overturned that ban and allowed a Rebel News reporter inside the debate hall. Here's how Justin Trudeau responded to that ruling.
The reality is, organizations like yours that continue to spread misinformation and disinformation on the science around vaccines, around how we're going to actually get through this pandemic and be there for each other and keep our kids safe, is part of why we're seeing such unfortunate anger and lack of understanding of basic science. And quite frankly, I won't call it a media organization.
So you criticize me, therefore you shouldn't be able to talk. That guy's a fascist, just to be totally clear. Ezra Levant is not. He founded Rebel News. He joins us tonight. Ezra, thanks so much for coming on. This is one of those stories, it's just hard to believe, reading it as a longtime fan of your country, that this could be allowed to happen. Have we overstated it?
Well, it's not yet illegal to do journalism without that license. It's a government license called the Qualified Canadian Journalism Organization license. A government panel reviews you. They spent 1 year reviewing Rebel News, looking through more than 100 of our stories, a panel of 5 people in secret. We don't even know what they said or did or what they looked at. And they claim that only 1% of our stories are news, so we don't get the license. Now, we're not outlawed, but there's all sorts of sticks and carrots that come with it. For example, just last week, Trudeau announced that he is going to compel Facebook and Google to downrank non-licensed journalists like us and boost his trusted, friendly journalists. So we're going to be hidden, and he's going to compel the internet giants to punish us. He's also changing the Income Tax Act to punish us. If you have a government license, your subscribers can write off their subscription at tax time. If you're an independent journalist like us, no dice. Of course, there are hundreds of millions of dollars that he is hosing with a fire hose at his trusted licensed journalists, and he's now compelling Google and Facebook to fund journalists too. So now you've got literally 99% of Canadian media companies that are dependent on Justin Trudeau and soon Google and Facebook for a huge chunk of their revenues. There's no way those journalists can be free and independent. We're not banned yet, although we are banned from government events, as you said earlier. But I'm worried that he's done all this in 2 years. The worst is yet to come. He may well ban us yet.
Well, if he's forcing the tech monopolies to downgrade your content, I mean, it's a distinction without a difference. You're banned from reaching readers. So my question is, what about the rest of Canadian media? They're going along with this? Has anyone at the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, stood up to defend you? Any of your newspapers to defend you?
1,500 Canadian news media companies are on the take. Now, they don't all have these journalism licenses yet, but they're all taking money from Trudeau. He made a special $61 million payment to them right before the election. None of them reported that. 1,500 news media companies cut up a $61 million gift. None of them reported that. So the thing is, since they're in on it, they can't very well report it, and they certainly can't very well object to it. It used to be that the Liberals of Canada were for civil rights and free speech and separation of, government and the media. Those days are done. You can really count on one hand's fingers the independent media left in the country, and Trudeau hates them. We were the ones who covered the trucker rebellion, as you know, and Trudeau hated the truckers because they were the one group that opposed him. He hates us for the same reason. He seized the bank accounts of truckers without legal process. I'm worried that if he's gone this far in 2 years, by the time he finishes his term 3 years from now, I'm worried that he's going to start to treat us like the truckers. I don't know, will he seize our bank accounts? Will he ask Google and Facebook to delist us altogether? I know that sounds paranoid, but so far he's done everything he threatened he would do.
It's China. And they're so fragile. You're one little news organization, and they can't stand any scrutiny. It really tells you a lot. Ezra, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Godspeed. We are rooting for you, for sure.
Thanks, Tucker. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yellow moons, green sunsets, green clovers, and purple sunsets. Are you guys ready for a bong hit? I'm ready for a bong hit. I think we should do a bong hit. Bong hit sounds pretty good, doesn't it? So I think it's so sad to see Canada losing more freedoms. All right, so this movie Free Guy, again, spoiler alert, who, this background character in a video game becomes self-aware. and starts playing the video game better than any other of the players, and plays it completely differently than all the other players. That being said, right, this character played by Ryan Reynolds, he goes out and he becomes one of the sunglass people, who are the heroes, and he comes back. He works at the bank, and he comes back to the bank where his good friend works, and he says, you know, come on, life doesn't have to be something that just happens to you, you know, and he tries to show his friend to see, you know, what it is that's actually going on around him, and his friend refuses not to see it, but to even look. So there's this programming that goes on, you know, and this is what I talked about cutting people slack, and the programming that goes on, because because people are, there's this incredible amount of fear, never ending. And it's just going on, you know, oh, you need to be afraid, we're on the edge of nuclear holocaust, people. And we're all gonna die from a deadly plague. Is this never-ending fear, and we've all seen it affect people. We've all seen this fear program. If not effects in ourselves, we've all seen it in the people around us, and this is why I again say, you know, we got to cut people slack. We need to have empathy, because it might not be their fault that they're in the position that they're in, that they're not willing to look at what's really happening around them, because this overwhelming fear that they experience almost every moment of every day, which is just so sad, is programmed into them. And it's not their fault that it's been programmed into them, because they're weak, or, you know, they're weak-minded, or it's everywhere around them. And they don't, again, they want to fit in. This is one of those things that, you know, humans, they want to fit in. They want to be like, I don't know if it's possible to not fit in and be cool. Right? If you don't fit in, you're kind of an outsider. You're kind of ostracized. You're not part of, you know, the hive. So it's difficult for people to look at you like you're cool. So at the same time, you know, being cool has really absolutely nothing to do with caring about what people think. So, you know. Where were we? Right, see, it's this collective thing. I was saying that I saw a video a couple days ago. Craig was watching a video a couple days ago, and it had Elon Musk, and Elon Musk was explaining how we're all cyborgs now, because we're constantly connected. We're all part of the hive. We're constantly connected through this electronic device, which is with us all the time, that sleeps right next to us, that that tells us what to think and which way to go, and you know, what our heart rate is and how we're feeling today, and you know, if we can go to, you know, if we need a mask or if we don't need a mask. Part of the hive, you know, the part of the board, you know, resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. And I think it's very difficult for people to resist that. You know, I see people that are like completely, you would say, tech illiterate, right? And they have these brand new smartphones, and they're working the smartphone, and they won't take their eyes off the smartphone. You know, 60, 70, 80-year-old people. And again, it comes back to this: we're all cyborgs now. You know, we're all constantly connected to the hive, and that's where a lot of people get this overwhelming fear, because like this huge part of the hive is expressing fear and experiencing fear, and the way that you one of the ways that you experience fear is to, you know, tell other people that you're afraid and what it is that they need to be afraid of too. So it's this never-ending kind of self perpetuating, growing. And it's not the people's fault. I don't blame everyone. We have to have empathy. We have to cut people slack. It's the only way we can get them to come in to actually be part of making the world a better place. Because again, clearly the connections that we have over the internet are not making the world a better place. The military, just like the military that we spend hundreds of billions of dollars on every single year, is not making the world a safer place. It's not making the United States a safer place. Just like the local police departments have hundreds of millions of dollars that are being spent on new gear, on new police stations. And it's not making our communities any safer. And I think that these are, again, this conflict of interest thing, like for-profit medical industrial complex. You know, they can't make money without sick people, just the way, God damn it. Hello, caller.
Hey, Mike, it's Michael from Maryland, California.
What's up, G?
What's up, man? Just kind of hanging out, watching you, and I was kind of thinking about some of the things you were talking about tonight, especially, you know, are you free, and that question, and just kind of doing a deep dive on that. And I wanted to read a quote from you.
Okay.
A quote not from you, but for you.
Right on.
I'm a little bit out of it right now.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
All right, and this is how it goes. When critical faculties are deliberately turned off based on a belief that absolute moral certainty has been attained, the parts of our brain armed with the capacity of reason are disabled.
And
what do you think of that quote?
Well, I think that this is a lot of what I'm talking about humans evolving, right? Is that we're supposed to be constantly, you know, growing and you know, being able to make more and more happen, right? Instead, the opposite is being done because our basic thought patterns are being limited as much as the powers that be can limit us. I think limit our thought patterns. It's not like it's, you know. Let's bring it back to art, right? There's in the movie industry, there's no new anything. It's all remakes. It's all part twos. You know, sequels. The video game industry seems to be about the same, also. So the creative, the limitless creation is being limited because again of this thought pattern that you're talking about, and that the powers that be want us to be limited. They want us only to play video games where we shoot at other people, you know?
Well, what's going to blow you away about this quote is this quote was published on April 12th, 1759. It comes from The Theory of Moral Sentiments, authored by Adam Smith. And it's the precursor to The Wealth of Nations. Kind of like the Hobbits and the Lord of the Rings. So when you hear about all this stuff about the evils of capitalism, one of the problems is that a lot of these business majors and even English majors have never come across the theory of moral sentiments. They've never read it. And so they don't employ some of the philosophy, and Adam Smith was a philosopher. He was a moral philosopher. He wasn't an economist. He kind of rolled into that later on in life and was attributed to being an economist. But his main points in the theory of moral sentiments were, one, sympathy, two was virtue, and the next was communication. And the book is really about how the free interaction of communication makes us more free. And that's about some of the things you were talking about, especially when you're talking about what's happening in Canada and some of the BS there, and a lot of the stuff that's happening here.
And
so
all
the foundation in capitalism for it, nobody's paying attention.
Yeah. Oh, well, I this is what I talk about all the time. Beside what you were saying, the fear goes right in there that limits people, because it's all part of the plan. It's not as if this is just happening by coincidence. Our speech is being limited in order to, again, this is what I'm saying about evolving. They don't want us to grow. They don't want us to come together. They want us all painted into little corners where, we feel like we're expressing ourselves and getting out what needs to be said. When what needs to happen is we need to come together to focus on making sure there's a tomorrow for your children.
Yeah. True. And then we see what's happening over in Ukraine, and that's just unbelievable that there's so many people that can't connect the dots. Oh, here we are in Ukraine, helping them out.
Right.
While there is this history that goes back, generations, like you were talking about, generations upon generations, whereby a lot of people within that region all had their own take on life and all had their own background on life and who they worshipped in certain respects. There were still what you deem as pagans, I guess. I hate to use that word, but then Christians and so on and so forth, and Jewish sects and Islamic sects that evolved later on, and even sects from Chinese religion, all in this area. And now all of a sudden, they're going to be one people, and they've been fighting amongst themselves for generations. And now one sect wants to take control, and they have Nazi ties. There's no doubt about that. They have Nazi ties. They have fascist ties. They've been killing civilians left and right over in eastern Ukraine. Russia steps up and says, "Hey, we're going to recognize these two nation states, so hopefully you'll stop killing these innocent civilians." Which I guess the numbers from the UN before this all happened was about 7,000 civilians had died, and they had close to 1 million refugees from 2014 to this point right now that had poured over the Russian border.
Yeah.
And you see some of the YouTube personalities from over in Russia that are much younger than us, but they're into what you're saying now, and they're trying to break ground on YouTube. They do travel blogs, and they do adventure blogs, and personal blogs and stuff of their everyday life. And they're pretty funny, and some are really sophisticated and interesting, going all the way to using drones and all other kind of stuff that we see others use on YouTube. But they've come out and say they're not for Putin, but they're not for Ukraine either. They say a lot of things that we say and that you go over, pretty much on a daily basis every night.
Yeah.
And it just blows me away where there's this connection we have with other people across the world. And the powers that be are trying to suppress that communication so we can't connect and basically tell them, hey, fuck off. We're not going to deal with this anymore.
they're trying to keep us separated. They want us, and I'm so glad to hear that there's more voices out there. I think that I'm not the only person who sees this and understands this, and if I was, there wouldn't be any people here listening. I don't think. I think that what I'm saying is just common sense. And to act somehow like having this giant military, which we spend so much of our money on every single year, it's not making the world a safer place in any way at all. So and it's just basic logic. It's not like I've studied this, for fucking, half of my lifetime and I understand, or I look at every fucking news story on the internet so that I know what's happening and I can tell you exactly. I use basic logic on this show. Okay? And I do not see the world being a safer place because we have the only superpower in the world. I don't see that for 1 second. And it'd be nice to see, right? Be nice. It might actually be worth spending that much of our money. Over 50% of what this government spends go to the military. So it might actually be worth that if we were making the world a better, safer place for everybody. We're not doing anything like that. Clearly, this is making the world, well, at least not what we're told it's making the world. If anything, it's making the world less safe and more violent.
I think that's obvious right now, too.
Yeah.
I think it's really obvious.
And it's really good that other people are basically having the same discussion, because it so needs to be had right now at this time. And I think people, besides needing to hear it, are desperate for some kind of a different voice than, we got to be afraid. No, we have to be fucking strong and make happen the things we need to make happen. And that has very little, if anything, to do with the military,
And it's a real travesty, too. They spend all this money on the military budget, yet there's veterans that are walking around homeless all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, how is that possible? How is that possible?
Well, I think some of it is
there's no logic behind it.
Some of it is post-traumatic stress. It's like okay, you come back from this situation where everything is like this massive adrenaline rush, and you're constantly looking everywhere, and have this heightened sense of awareness, and then you come back to this life where you sit in a house and you look at a television set or read a book or whatever. Not that you don't read in the battlefield, but you know what I'm saying? It becomes this thing where you just, you need that adrenaline or that. So you don't want to have this life. You don't want to die, live in front of a goddamn television set. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. It's just such a shame. Shame that we have these huge military budgets and these veterans that are, a majority of them, get sucked into whatever the wargasm is at the moment, know, and then something happens, and whether or not they're damaged physically or emotionally, mentally, that nothing's being done to rescue them.
Yeah.
When it is something that they may have they may have willingly gone in the military because, one, they have a screw loose, or they may have willingly gone in the military because, hey, they want to get a college education and
right.
can't pay for it. Or they may have gone in the military because they had no other opportunities to get out of an impoverished life that they were stuck in since the day they were born.
Right. They don't want to work at McDonald's, Also, you were talking about the veterans, and I think it's a really important discussion that's not really being had. I think besides people seeing an opportunity to go to college or whatever, a lot of those people step up to try and do the right thing. They hear their country calling for their help, and they want to be patriotic or whatever, and their father did this and their grandfather did this, and then the war machine chews them up and spits them out like they're nothing but cattle, and I agree completely that whatever veterans need to continue moving forward after they've gone through these experiences where they have whatever kind of PTSD or mental or physical issues, whatever it is they need. And I'm not just talking about medical. If they need somewhere to live, if they need a car, if they need just food, like if you didn't want to die in front of a TV set and you didn't care if you were living out in the rain or whatever, as long as you have your dog with you and you're not going hungry, you're good, right? You're going to make it. And that's, if they needed food or whatever it was that they needed, they should just be able to go to some, veteran center and ask for food or for a car and be able to show, look, I need a car. I'm not going to take the car and go sell it. You know what I mean? And the basics, I honestly don't know how the system works, but it seems like to me it's not being as helpful as it can. There's no doubt in my mind, as a matter of fact, because the one of the things that's most important to getting over the post-traumatic stress or dealing with it is cannabis. And for a long time, even in the states where medicinal cannabis was legal, veterans were not allowed to use it. And then just recently, they've said that veterans can use the cannabis for medicinal reasons without losing any benefits. And that again shows you that we have to fight for everything, but not only that they don't have the veterans' best interest at heart, because the cannabis is easily one of the best ways to deal with the post-traumatic stress, beyond the shadow of a doubt.
That's true. There's a lot of benefits there for a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons.
Right, and the people that are
it doesn't work the way it works for other people, but everybody's body chemistry is different. But it's better than them, being, passed out on the street with a bottle of alcohol in their hand, or worse, a needle.
Well, it's been shown to actually help people heal. It's been used as medicine forever, since the humans started cultivating plants, which is, 1,000 generations ago or whatever, 50,000 years ago. It's just, I have stories here posted, and I agree it doesn't affect everybody the same way, but I have stories posted that says, helps people with anxiety, helps people with depression, and it's like local news stories, that were of a medical study from Harvard or, Southern California University or wherever, some medical school. And you can talk to veterans. You can talk to NFL players, and they will tell you, this constant headbutting that goes on, they hurt so much, and the one thing that really helps them get up and keep moving is the cannabis. Not only that, fucking endurance athletes, people who do triathlons, people who run marathons, they're using this to get now on a regular basis to get beyond this point where I got to get over this hump or whatever. It just makes it so much easier to push through. So I think there's plenty of plenty of data that shows that this is so important to healing and just being able to move forward, honestly. So, but I get what you're saying.
I remember it was probably about 25 years ago, there was an article in High Times, and it was saying that hemp seed is the number one source of protein is a soybean, and right behind it is hemp seed. Yeah. And hemp seed grows so much easier than soybeans do at a greater yield per acre than soybeans do, that it could solve a lot of problems, a lot of hunger problems, the amount of the world.
Right. This is one of the things I say almost daily, is that it should be feeding hundreds of millions of people. And yeah, besides all the better yielding and the smaller amount of soil, fields, acreage, it also takes basically no pesticides to grow. Soybean will only grow in certain, weather, climate type areas. Cannabis grows everywhere. And it's been taken from us as this incredible, natural, renewable, amazing renewable resource. We use it for nothing.
Yeah, cannabis grows like weed.
Literally.
Literally, it does.
I always tell people, they say when you talk about growing cannabis, they say, "Oh, it's a weed. How hard can it be?" And I tell them, I'm not growing weeds. I'm growing flowers. And it can take a little practice to grow flowers.
Yeah, it does. It does. There's no doubt about that. Years ago, when I was growing, and so many decades ago when I was growing, there was always that fear of a knock on the door, and then when I was growing stuff, I'd be growing stuff at like my parents' house or something like that. It wasn't a big deal to my mom until they came up with forfeiture laws and all that kind of stuff. My mom's like, "Nah, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
No more sneaking in your plants in between the tomato plants, okay?
Yeah.
And get me watering for it." I think because my mom would water all that stuff, and she'd, "Oh, what's this?" Come in the house and say, "What are you doing?" And she was fine with it, because she didn't want me to, get in trouble or with somebody off the street or, anything like that. And she knew it was going to happen. And my mom was a pretty hip chick, but when the forfeiture laws came around, she thought, "You can't do it anymore because I could lose the house."
Yeah.
Or we could lose this property. So then it became a different deal.
Yeah, and when the police when the police state is hanging over your head the way it does on everyone in this country, again, it's impossible to consider yourself free. I was walking the dog yesterday, Rufus, Boo Bear, and this woman says, "You should put your dog on the leash." And I was like, "Why?" And she said, "Because it's the law." And I started laughing out loud. And oh, you're serious? And I just walked away. I'm not. It's not like we're even on the same path. She's on the other side of the street. So you should put a gag in your mouth, bitch.
Well, some people just like to say things to say it because they think they're superior to other people.
A lot of people think that.
Reason. They have some mental affliction where they need to just spit out something when you've probably taken that pathway hundreds and hundreds of times before, or at least Rufus has. He knows where he's going.
He knows exactly where he's going.
He has no interest in her.
No,
so
he has much bigger priorities than her. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm sure. So, but yeah, it's unfortunate. If somebody, was, right, in front of you or something like that, or.
Well, yeah, if they had a dog.
Properties and they say like, what's the name of your dog? Man, he's beautiful. All this other kind of stuff starts talking. It's like, there's a law out there, and I don't know if there's a law out where you are. Some people just say that stuff, and there isn't.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking about? It goes back to like income tax and that's rolling around, and the Aaron Russo movie, Freedom to Fascism.
Yeah.
That movie where the major question was, show me the law. Is there a law that requires me to pay income tax? Or where is that law?
Right.
And they couldn't show it to anybody.
Yeah.
That documentary is hilarious.
It's like unconstitutional too, or something. There's people around the neighborhood. I've always seen, other people everywhere I've ever gone who had dogs, and they would just tie a rope around the leash and let the dog walk off on, with the rope. And people would say, "Oh, you should have your dog on a leash." And you go, "He is on a leash. What are you talking about?" you know, because he's got a rope hanging off his collar. So he is leashed. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, there's a couple people around the neighborhood who do that. And there's other people who just walk with their dog at their side, which is what Rufus does, you know? So he's not chasing bunnies.
Around my neighborhood.
Yeah, he's done with his bunny chasing days. He's done with his cat chasing days. You know, he's just there to sniff and piss and shit.
I think the people that know their animals and know their pets and know they need to be leashed, they put a leash on them.
It's obvious, it's very obvious who those dogs are.
Yeah, and it's for a number of reasons, but I think it's a safety reason that goes all the way around, because they don't want their animal running out in front of a vehicle or something like that. Or
I would never let him off. I would never let him off the leash on any kind of a road where there's going to be traffic. You know, I mean, any kind of traffic. If there's a car that drives really slowly down a cul-de-sac, that's one thing. You know, but if there's any kind of traffic, I would never let him off the leash and walking down a road like that.
There's a retired lady that I can't remember her name right now, but she walks around our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And she has a cat, and her cat follows her everywhere.
Cat lady.
It's really funny because
her name's Cat Lady.
And she's like, she's like one of those people that if she's walking down the street and she sees some like garbage or something like that, she picks it up.
Yeah.
You know, she just likes keeping the neighborhood looking really, really nice.
Yeah.
And you know, she's a really, really nice person. And,
yeah.
I asked her, I said, well, what do you think about dogs when you see dogs in your cat? My cat doesn't care.
Yeah.
You know, my cat doesn't care. And she said, she goes, there was this one time when a dog kind of barked at the cat, and the cat just kind of looked at him like, hey, you know, if you do anything, I'm going to scratch your eyes out. And,
you understand, I have fangs, right?
Yeah. And the reason she said that is because she said that she had a dog, she had a German Shepherd for a long time when it was just a kitten, and the cat thinks it's a dog.
Yeah.
The cat thinks it's a dog, even though it's a cat.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't mind the environment whatsoever.
Yeah, we used to have a cat that would follow us when we go for walks, when we go to walk the dogs. It was, you know, cats can be very you know, very dog-like. Like you said, if they're raised with a dog around, a lot of times they do think that they're dogs. And not just that, some of them really act like that kind of, you know, have that kind of personality. So.
You know, it's great, though, that we're still in a situation that at least we can have pets and animals. I've been kind of, you know, worried about some of the things that happened in Ukraine, and some of the things that are happening, and they were talking about, you know, animals being forced to be left behind, and people are just saying, well, then I'm not going. And then other places, you know, depending upon where the refugees are going to, where they say, oh, you can't take your animal, and then other people are saying, well, you can come with us then, because, you know, we're taking people and animals. You got your pet, you don't care what it is, you can come with us and we'll take you where you need to go.
Yeah, a lot of people won't leave their pet, you know, if your pet can't go. Like, I wouldn't leave my dog, there's no way, you know.
Yeah, and I don't know, I haven't read too many stories about relief efforts for pets. You know?
I've seen a little bit of stories like that, but yeah, that was one of my big concerns when I saw this beginning, was that, you know, all the people that were evacuating, I didn't see any pets. And I was really like, oh man, you know, because I don't know, I love dogs, you know, what's not to love?
Yeah, well, I love animals in general.
Yeah.
And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, every animal has its own personality.
Dogs and humans have kind of a special connection.
Well, that's true. You know, there's no doubt about that. That's true.
It comes back to this thing, you know, where the wolves would smell the food and they'd come around the campfire and we'd start feeding them, you know, and then they become friends. You know, it's this long fucking history. It's not like we cultivated them to chop their heads off and make stew out of their bodies, you know.
Yeah, you'd hope not.
You know, I was going to say something else too about the importance of a dog and such, and the veterans. That's one of the things that I see happening is that the veterans are being given puppies and kittens and parrots. They'll be given parrots who are very distressed, which is, you know, a parrot that's very distressed is just a heartbreaking thing because, you know, parrots live like 100 years old, and to watch them pull all their feathers out, you know, it's just like, oh my God. So they'll give this creature that needs someone so desperately, you know, that if they're not there for them, you know, their lives are horrible. So it's important. It makes it important for them to get out of bed and, you know, to take their medication or whatever the deal is that they need to do to function, because they have something that is that they have to care for. You know, that's more important than themselves, and I think that that's one of the things people overlook a lot is that. You know, when it comes to loving their animals, like, you know, I couldn't leave my dog behind if there was war, it's because the dog, you know, has helped me through so much. You know, for me not to help him at this most desperate time would be very fucking chicken shit of me. So, and that's the kind of connection people have with their pets. So, but dogs in particular.
You know, that purpose.
Yeah.
You know, that purpose, that responsibility.
Yeah.
And the connection means so much that you know, that can really help somebody that's not, you know, that's not in the right frame of mind.
Yeah.
Break through and start remembering, you know, what it was like in their past where they had more solid relationships even with other human beings.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, in general, I don't like a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I don't know why that is. I mean, I guess it's a fault on my part because sometimes I don't give people enough time to expand on who they are, you know, but some people are just like, they can't connect the dots, and no matter how you try to convey to them, you know, certain realities of life, they refuse to accept, you know, like the sky is blue, you know, hey, that's, you know, the sun is warm, you know, it's like there's certain aspects of life that
warm is relative.
Try to point out to them. Well, yeah. But, I mean, there's certain realities in life that are so obvious, and then when you try to point out the misfortunate situations of other people, and they come back and say, well, it's their fault, you can't just, you know, blatantly say that because you hear it in the news or something like that. You got to start putting some things together to figure out, well, how did people get to the point where they need help, whether or not if they're homeless or they're in a war zone. You know, it's not always something that they did. It might be just a matter of unfortunate events that occurred throughout their life that got them to the place that they are now.
It's mostly a societal thing, in my opinion. If the society really cared about people being homeless, there'd be very far less people homeless.
That's true. I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily the people who's homeless fault in any way. You know, like you're saying, it's really they're not to blame at all. It's totally even if they are drug addicts. Still, we should have this, you know, we should care about them. my God. Shit.
What's blown me away that I didn't know until it was a few years ago, and I kind of heard about it, but I kind of heard about it again. There's all this talk about NATO and all these NATO countries and what they spend or are required to spend to be part of NATO. And they were talking about Norway and how the citizens of Norway get a monthly stipend off of the fact that Norway has so much in natural resources that it becomes part of the gross national product, and all the citizens of Norway get a piece of the action.
Yeah.
And I thought about that. I was thinking, well, shit, how come we don't get a piece of our action over here?
We are getting we are getting gouged so fucking bad here, dude. It's unbelievable. We should have 99 cents a gallon gasoline at the very least.
Well, you know, I was mentioning those the videos from some of those folks over in Russia, and they're saying, well, these are the results, or this is what's happening as a result of the sanctions, and they're showing all these different prices for all these different things, and it's like pasta, you know, like Barilla pasta was being sold in Russia, and it's literally the same price it is here. You know, a box of the retail price for Barilla pasta is what, $5 or $6 here, you know, when it's not on sale, and it's the same price over there, but a liter of gas over there is like less than $1. So there's a couple liters to a gallon or something like that. So
I think it's 3.6 liters to a gallon, I think.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I think it was like 60 cents or something like that, a liter.
Well, I've heard that they're selling gas very, very inexpensively in Russia. And I can tell you that in Venezuela, during the Barack Obama administration, gas there, petrol, sold for 19 cents a gallon. And we're the number one energy exporter in the world. Like you're saying, we should number one be getting a cut of that, and getting some kind of a residual paycheck from them stealing our natural resources out from under our feet. And also, we should get 99 cents a gallon gasoline. We'd have such a giant economic boom with 99 cents a gallon gasoline. And there's absolutely no reason that we don't get it, except for we have to make rich people even more rich.
Yeah, I paid $5.79 a gallon for that.
It's insane, dude. And they're saying it's it's like Joe Biden and the people behind Joe Biden want it to be $10 a gallon. And if you don't think that, you don't even understand that the Pentagon can't wait for the next war. So that's our great superpower, making the world so much safer, is that they cannot wait for the next war.
Yeah, and there's those folks, whatever you want to call them, I just call them media personalities. They're saying, oh yeah, I'd pay $20 a gallon or whatever. It's like, fuck you, dude.
Right.
It must be nice to make, 7 figures.
Right.
Not just 6, but like 7 figures a year.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? And then you have people like Buttigieg who are saying, oh yeah, you go out and buy an electric car. It's like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What's an electric car cost?
Right.
What the hell? What are you on?
Yeah, these people live in a fantasy world that the working class has no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
No clue. All right, dude. I'll let you go. Nice talking to you. And yeah, dude. I was gonna call you on your birthday, but I wasn't too sure if you were broadcasting. It was like on a Saturday. A few weekends ago, right?
Yeah, I thought about doing it, but then I get so heated when I do the show, I didn't want to come out and fucking bitch about the government and our loss of freedom on my birthday, so I didn't do that.
Yeah. Who wants a buzzkill on their birthday?
It's not so much a buzzkill for me as I just didn't want to have that kind of, I didn't want to have that on my birthday. I didn't want to be all aggro on my birthday. It doesn't buzzkill me. I love talking about it, just not on my birthday. I don't want to get so aggro on my birthday, Just want to chill and fucking.
You have a good birthday?
What's that? March 19th.
Yeah, did your birthday rock or what?
I just chilled out. We went and had Chinese dinner and, came home and watched a movie.
All right, dude.
It's good for me. I honestly, I would have rather have a barbecue, but these guys, they love going to get Chinese food, so I'm good with that too.
Well, cool, man. Good talking to you.
All right, well, it's good to hear from you too.
You have a great week, dude.
All right, stay cool.
You too now. Bye.
Bye. All right, so if anybody wants to call, the number's right there on the screen, 805-669-6397. Someone was asking about the video earlier, and I was saying that this is the Coast Guard chasing away a shark. I think it was a couple sharks in there. But I've talked about this video in the past, and when you see the Coast Guard firing this large caliber weapon, right? Number one, it's going to stir up the shark. The shark's obviously not afraid of it. It swims over the direction the bullets are coming from. And sharks, number two, sharks almost never they never mess with people. So, or not never, but extremely rarely. And besides that, bullets, right? This is a large caliber weapon. It looked like a 50 caliber, right? These bullets are big, and the larger mass of the bullet, the more likely that it will bounce. It will skip across the water, and the direction that they're firing at, they're pretty low on the water already, so they're not firing down into the water. They're kind of shooting it. I mean, they're shooting it down, but they're low on the water already, so there's only so much they can angle it at. And bullets skip across the water, just like a stone. And they're firing it very much the direction of people. Completely unnecessarily, in my opinion. Oh, there's a shark. Oh my God, I'm so afraid right now. This is the fear again. This is we have to conquer nature. Shark attacks are infinitesimally not they just don't happen. Now I think there's like 13 of them a year or something. Oh my God, it's a shark. We're all gonna die. You most likely have a better chance of dying from nuclear holocaust than a shark. Did I mention that we're on the verge of nuclear holocaust? What are wonderful hundreds of billions of dollars making us safe every year, Pentagon has brought us to is the edge of nuclear war, because I feel so much safer being the only superpower in the world. Don't you feel safer? Don't you feel like it just that our communities are safer, your children have a safer future because we spend hundreds of billions of dollars on the military-industrial complex every year? Can't you see how much safer we're making the world? For you, we're making the world safer. Can't you see that? For your children, look how much safer we've made the world for your children. That's your government at work, people. Just in case you were wondering. I'm getting hungry. You're getting very hungry. I'm pretty much always hungry, but I think I'm doing a fairly good job of resisting. See? Like I made this tray of of Rice Krispie treats. I made this like 4 days ago, and I've eaten less than half, okay? I think I'm restraining myself greatly when it comes to, not eating too much. I'm gonna go eat a bunch of food, topped off with Rice Krispie treats. What a life, huh? How much better is it gonna get than a big old fat hand-wrapped burrito made with barbecue chicken, and beans and fucking sriracha. Oh, you wanna know the secret to making a really good hand-rolled burrito? A little bit of fresh lime juice, right? A little bit of fresh lime juice right on top of that sriracha, or your jalapenos or whatever you're using. Oh my God, my mouth's watering now. See what you people do to me? Man, I want to go visit Ukraine. It looks so peaceful and calm. Like you just chill out totally, doesn't it? So I have one more video clip. I'm going to give you a chance to call if you want to call. The video clip, again, we're talking about if you're free or not. And the video clip is about the results of the lockdown from the plague and how we were... the effect that it's had on our communities in general, how effective it was. And I thought it was interesting. And I thought that you might find it interesting too, because it's had a horribly negative effect on our communities, and it didn't seem to protect us a whole lot at all. So I'm going to play that video for you now, because again, this is important information to have, which you might not have already seen. Probably have. It's pretty common information, but I still like to keep it fresh in the dialogue so that people don't forget when they're talking about how we're all going to die in a nuclear holocaust, how we were lied to before, and we're obviously being lied to again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right?
A new study is shedding light on the true cost of COVID shutdowns and school closures. The National Desk's Jay O'Brien breaks down what the study says and what it means going forward.
Yeah, this study is causing a shakeup. It's a plea to rethink how to approach the pandemic. It ranks states on how they handled COVID and suggests that those measures to contain the virus in some places may have done more harm than good. Some of the worst performing states on the list, Democratic strongholds known for strict COVID measures, like New Jersey, Washington, D.C., and New York. The National Bureau of Economic Research giving each an F on how they handled the pandemic, measuring COVID mortality, learning loss from remote schooling, and the impacts on the state's economy from lockdowns and business closures.
The states that ramped down their economic activity didn't get any extra help that we could detect.
University of Chicago professor Casey Mulligan conducted this research and had one major takeaway.
Closing schools did not make us healthier, and it certainly harmed kids a lot.
Many of the states ranking at the top of the list have Republican governors like Utah, Vermont, Nebraska, and South Dakota. Florida, which ranked 6th, was one of the first to lift lockdowns and reopen schools. Professor Jay Bhattacharya with Stanford School of Medicine is a pandemic advisor to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and warns the cost of COVID mitigation measures will be felt for years.
The myriad consequences of this are still playing themselves out, and they're going to play themselves out over a very long period of time.
The Biden White House saying it worked to reopen schools as fast as possible and long opposed lockdowns. In fact, most COVID shutdowns began during the Trump administration, but some Democratic governors still saying they were necessary.
Our lockdowns, distressing as they were, saved lives.
And while studies start to show the true toll of the pandemic, experts warning they're only scratching the surface. Now, one of the things we're already seeing is Republican governors running for re-election and campaigning on the decisions they made during the pandemic. We'll get a final test of how some of that will play out at the ballot box this coming November. In Washington, I'm Jay O'Brien for the National Desk.
in my brain hole. As I was saying, I'm getting very hungry, and there is no callers. If you want to call, the telephone number is right there on the screen. I'll give you another minute. I'm gonna be doing some gardening this evening. It's very cold here, but I'll be doing indoor gardening, and I think I'm gonna probably dedicate a good part of my waking hours to indoor gardening. Not indoor, I'm just starting the plants indoor. I'm going to do a little bit of indoor gardening with a couple of fast autoflowers, and then I'm going to do some, I'm going to grow some trees, baby. So we'll see what happens. I have some really large plants picked out for the backyard this summer. But we'll do some training, make them into bushes instead of trees. It hopefully will be not just, interesting, but very memorable experience. It generally is for me. Whether I have an awesome outcome or not is generally a very memorable experience. And I can do it this year. I know I can. This year I can do it. I can grow a really, really beautiful flower. I want to grow a really, really beautiful flower so bad. I have some really awesome genetics picked out. Grape snow train. Yeah, baby. Grape motherfucking... You know what? I have a strain picked out from Red Eye Genetics, right? Red Eye Genetics, which I believe are actually a Seattle-based company or breeder. I believe it's Seattle. It might be just Washington State. One way or the other, I know that they've had named numerous strains off of Seattle. Seattle Landmarks and Seattle, Washington. One of their strains is called Washington Apples. Might be Sour Apple, I'm not sure. One of them is called Fremont Troll, which if you're from Seattle, most people from Seattle know what the Fremont Troll is. But Red Eye Genetics, right? I have a strain from them called McGrupp, right? McGrupp, right? McGrupp. And I can't find any information at all on the on the web. I can't find any information about the strain called McGrupp from Red Eye Genetics anywhere on the internet. I know it's from them. I have seen something somewhere one time. I can't find anything. I can't find anything. And it's a Chernobyl crossed with a Jack the Ripper. I don't know. I'll get it and show it to you. It's a Lime Slurpee Chernobyl crossed with Trey Stardog. Guard Dog, which I believe is one of their strains also. Guard Dog, but it's a Lime Slurpee Chernobyl crossed with Guard Dog, and again, them being a Northwest breeder, right? I figure that the weather might be suited for this weather. So McGrupp, I may have the only McGrupp magic beans on the planet. I might. I doubt it, but I might. I'm going to start 2 or 3 of them. See what we get. And then I also have some other, like I said, grape snow train and such. But it should be, and I'm gonna do 4 octopots, which is like a water reserve with a bag, grow bag sitting on top of it. I have very large ones, well, pretty large ones. 6-gallon grow bag with I think it's a 4-gallon water reservoir, right? And the roots grow all the way down through the soil into the water reservoir, and it's supposed to grow pretty large flowers. pretty large plants. And I have 4 autoflowers that I picked out that are supposed to grow very large. Like they outgrow the tents. I keep reading, though, you got to keep it under control or outgrow your tents. So we're going to grow outside large autoflowers. I'm going to call it the Clash of the Titans. The Auto Clash of the Titans. Something like that. Octo. Something. And we'll see if I'm able to actually make videos and share them with you, if I can do that. I really would like to do that. I just, there's only so much screen time and video production that a guy can do. So, and believe it or not, the live show takes, 3 or 4 or 5 hours, maybe longer sometimes. So that being said, and it's not just on the air. That being said, I have given you all a chance to call, and I think that we're pretty much done with that. So I am going to thank you very much for tuning in. Let you know that we do this Monday. No, not Mondays. Come on. We do this Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays currently, which means we'll be back tomorrow, same Mox time, same Mox channel. I'm going to go have a lovely burrito, and I hope that you have something lovely waiting for you too, whatever it might be. I'm going to go have a lovely burrito and a big fat Rice Krispie treats, and give my Boo Bear a bunch of kisses. And until same Mox time, same Mox channel tomorrow, stay cool, because one of these days this war is going to end. Stay cool till then.
I mean, this coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. I wish the coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united. Coalition of misfits, and they cobble together and they don't attack each other, they stay united.
No matter which mouth you feed on a two-headed snake, it still shits the same turd. But lucky for you, you have Mox News. More than 10 years. More than 60,000 videos. Mox News has been filtering the nonsense and illuminating the bullshit from your mainstream media. Turn off your TV and turn on to Mox News. For over a decade, documenting the socio-political events that have etched and carved the pathways that define today's modern mess, Mox News has been providing clarity while faithfully bringing you today's relevant stories 100% commercial-free and subscription-free. And just like Lady Liberty vows to remain free. But at this time, we're asking you for your help, your patronage, and your support to keep the lights on and the videos rolling. For less than 17 cents per day, you can become a basic subscriber, knowing that your donation is truly making a difference that will help continue bringing the news stories that make a difference in your life. Turn on, tune in, and drop a couple dimes today by clicking the link below or visiting moxnews.com and show your support at any level. From a single one-time donation or dedicated monthly subscriber, do it now in less than 2 minutes. All donations are safe, securely processed, and verified using PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover Card. As always, we're sure you'll find something of interest each and every day. This holiday season, give the gift of Mox. moxnews.com.
I'm going to show you my invisible
Very
mask.
serious.
This is my invisible mask for Stacey Abrams. Ready? I'm going to put it on. It's on. It's great. All right, Carol.
gosh.
Last word here. Okay, I'm going to show you my invisible
Very
mask.
serious.
This is my invisible mask for Stacey Abrams. Ready? I'm going to put it on. It's on. It's great. All right, Carol.
gosh.
Last word here.